Hello and welcome to the Left Wave Transmission podcast. I am going to kick off things. My name is Louise. I run the YouTube channel Matriarchetype. I am going to kick things off, and I have a couple other of the core podcast hosts joining me in a bit, but we agreed just now in the chat to just kind of get things going, and people are going to join when they can. We missed last week as well because schedules be scheduling, as I frequently say on here. But hello everyone, it's lovely to see you again. How are you doing? How is your week going? So yeah, I'm going to hold down the fort for a little bit of a segment here. I'm going to just talk about probably current events going on myself, and then we'll kind of add to them later. But so I'm also going to interact way more with chat because I need something to bounce off of. So hello chat, please do, if you're watching, drop a comment, say hello, and let's get started. If you want to talk, if you want to ask anything as well, now is your chance. You're going to interact with me a little bit more than usual, because sometimes when we're talking, things are just flying about and I don't get the chance to talk. But yeah, hello chat. We've got Sergi, we've got Pup Tetris. How is everything audio-wise? Can everyone hear me? Audio all okay? I feel like we struggle with that every single week. Everyone okay? Can everyone hear me? So, yeah, I'm going to talk about kind of the pop culture current events that I can before we get into the nitty gritty of the political side of things. We're definitely going to talk about Zoran later. But Sergi saying chat in the chair is here. Sound is excellent. Wonderful. Thanks, Pup. So, one thing I definitely have been keeping up with in chat, let me know if you have as well, is House of the Dragon. You all know I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. I feel like in pop culture as well, it's something ongoing and quite cultural. I wouldn't quite say political, but it's definitely something, yeah, that I'm keeping up to date with. So everyone in chat, Sergi, Pop Tetris, anyone else watching, who is keeping up to date with House of the Dragon? I'm trying not to spoil anything, but how are we feeling about it? What's the vibe? Because yesterday or a couple of days ago, depending on the time zone, we had episode, I think it was 6 out of 8. So we got like 2 episodes left. And in Game of Thrones, kind of the universe, the series themselves, they often have the penultimate episode is like a huge episode. There's either like a battle or a huge like cliffhanger or a character death, and then the last episode of the series is kind of like a, not even quite a cliffhanger, but like a kind of succinct ending of a series. So we're about to have that next week. So things are ramping up. How is everyone feeling about it? Sergi says, I proudly know nothing about Game of Thrones beside the author uses WordStar. Fantastic for this segment. Thank you so much, Sergi. Is he not a Game of Thrones fan? Fair enough. No one else watches Okay, so like no one else watches House of the Dragon. People that I did a video, obviously, as people probably saw, about Abigail Thorne playing a character in House of the Dragon. So like I tried to tie my audiences together, but I feel like no one watches it, and I'm like, I feel like it's a lost thing I can talk about because it's like something I actually keep up to date with, and we don't really get many. We don't have like Netflix here in Japan and stuff. Netflix exists in Japan, but we don't have it. So like, it's one of the things I'm actually keeping up to date with. Okay, no one watches House of the Dragon. I guess I'll either like sum up or I'll move swiftly on to a new segment, people. But thank you so much. Thank you, Ula Mui as well for being here. Basically, House of the Dragon is like I said in the video I did, it's just like a covering the Targaryen dynasty. But this series, particularly series 3, is following. Is kind of like it started with a lot of action, and it had the like a Battle of the Gullet, which was basically a kind of crescendo of the like sea family, the Valerian family, like fighting against their kind of like pirate enemies. And it saw, I mean, spoilers, obviously. Oh my God, so sorry. It saw like a main character that's been kind of trying to fight for her birthright, like finally get her seat and reclaim her throne. And then since then, it's kind of slowed down in pace a bit for this series. It's kind of in a bit of a lull, and it seems like it's going to ramp up to another crescendo, another kind of war. But something that is definitely interesting, that's kind of also a bit more political. People say you can still rant about it. It's your podcast. Thank you so much. I'm going to fully have to wait for the rest of the crew. But no, but something political that is coming out of it is, so basically, series 1 and 2, there was definitely comments on like patriarchy, using the tool of women in control of the kingdom, and so like, can we have a queen? And so the main civil war that happens in the whole entire series is between a kind of traditional family line that wants men on the throne, effectively, the Greens as they're called, and then a female monarch that was promised the heir, kind of the chosen heir by her father, who was the king, and her fight for that legitimacy. Legitimacy is like a huge through line. I think it was Princess Weeks that talked about that. I'll double check. It might have been someone else. But legitimacy like comes up quite a lot in this entire series also, but this specific series 3. So what's kind of interesting, even from a political lens as well, is how like the use of patriarchy and feminism as a literary tool in this series is still being applied, even though it's like obviously like a modern series. It's created this year, it's been written and filmed this year, so Abigail Thorne was in it, but it's obviously set in like medieval times, so it's using tropes from like medieval fantasy past. But there is this very particular problematic character, and I won't go too much into it because of spoilers, but we'll also use him as like a hypothesis. But what's his name? At least get his name. He's basically the villain of this series, you could say. Ormond, I think his name is Ormond Hightower. But Ormond Hightower is written in the series as like overtly sexist. In this recent episode, we had like some homophobia. He's very like narcissistic as a character. He's like a fascinating character. So even if you haven't watched this, you just know about this character, Armand. Armand Hightower. He's like been written as someone that's like comically sexist in a villain archetype. He's really fascinating because the Greens side in general have always been very patriarchal, but it has been slightly sprinkled through. So, I mean, people have commented it, like Khadija and Bo have talked about it. Other, commenters of the House of the Dragon series have definitely talked about that kind of patriarchal through line as a theme. But it's never been like so overt. I mean, well, a couple lines, a couple scenes here and there. But this character, he's dressed as a villain. He's created as a villain, but he's very much this like sexist, rude. He's like, so basically, not to give too much away, but he's like combative to Princess Rhaenyra, Queen Rhaenyra, the kind of key monarch at this point, arguably the protagonist of the series. So he's kind of opposite to that protagonist, making him the antagonist. But he had a few lines in the recent episode talking about things like, women can't rule. Queen Rhaenyra, she's like, emotional. Like, he says things like this. He also, there are 2 other male characters in his like kind of cast of his effective like group of people, and he's like, oh, make sure you walk with your back to the wall, because you know what he's like, calling him like kind of adjacent to like homophobia. And ironically though, what's really interesting is him as a character is that he's very disliked even within his own group, contrary to in previous series where the kind of patriarchal element of the Greens, this faction of people, has been kind of celebrated. So we have, Aegon Targaryen, who was the king, Aemond Targaryen, his brother, who was also very patriarchal, Kristen Cole, anyone keeping up to date with it, was very much like, protective of the patriarchy, protective of Aegon, completely betrayed Rhaenyra, the female queen, as we said. So, but it was very much like kind of subtle. People said in character, a woman can't be queen, the realm will not accept it. But it was much more of like, it's just not happened. Not so much like, we hate women, not overtly at least. But so this new character is very much this Ormond guys is just very much overtly, women are, you know, emotional beings. She can't be in power. She's a nuisance. He uses the C word against her. He uses this like, yeah, homophobic trope. He's also like painted as such an interesting villain. Actually, he's very like delicate to smells. So you get a lot of interesting scenes where he's like, you know, holding his nose. He's like smelling salts when someone comes into his like, you know, area. He's very like distant with them, and I think they're playing with something to do with that. I don't know. I haven't read the book to this point. They're kind of playing with. Maybe they're going to do something about it. Maybe Queen Rhaenyra is going to use some kind of like smell to like win, I don't know, a battle against him. But he's a fascinating character because he's also so narcissistic, and how what's interesting is for a faction that has been overtly kind of pro patriarchy, they've never quite shown the cracks of that overtly underneath like they have with this character. So like the kind of monarch that he's trying to raise, this Ormond Hightower kind of guy, trying to raise a monarch in place of Queen Rhaenyra, trying to usurp the throne. And like, he hates him. The monarch himself hates this guy. There's a cousin character as well that was like at war and has come back from war. And he's like, you know, oh, I'm sorry to leave you with him. He was a nightmare, like, but I had to get out, you know, like. So what's interesting is even in a modern setting of this series, they've depicted this patriarchy to be so fickle and so prone to just breaking, so brittle. And I just find his character so fascinating. I've been watching it religiously, huge fan of this like series. But I'm glad that they have taken the kind of initiative of making this Greens faction versus the Blacks faction, like the Greens faction being overtly patriarchy, overtly sexist. Now we have homophobia, narcissistic. And they've just taken it full on. And it's a fascinating series. If anyone does get the chance, please do check it out. But yeah, I'm toying with like maybe doing a video about this because the patriarchy itself is just so overt. I think my husband is snoring in the background. Apologies. Can anyone hear that? So we have some comments. Thank you so much. So Rosewater, thank you so much for being here. I didn't like Philosophy Tube on Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon or whatever. I didn't read the book, so I can't judge the faithfulness to the character, but she was introduced in season 2 finale. Yes, indeed, she was. I did my video about her. It did feel quite out of place, I'm not going to lie. Rosewater also said, and it really felt like she should have used that finale for, I don't know, something a little bit more high stakes, conclusive. Yeah, I agree. But I might be biased since she's so terrible. The person, yeah, fantastic. You're saying all the things in the video. Fantastic. Go check out my video. You might really like that. Good. No background noise. Thank you, Puff. Thank you for confirming. My poor husband's asleep. He's been working so hard recently. Intern hubby in the background. When will he make an appearance? Not quite yet. Unfortunately, the timing of this like live stream that we do is so early here. I'm even like quite loud for my neighborhood to be speaking at this volume. It's like 7:30 in the morning. So he's around. Intern hubby is around, but he's currently slumbering, I'm afraid. But yeah, so House of the Dragon is really good. We're ramping up to a finale. We might be doing a video about it. If there's something to talk about, I will do a video. But as it stands, this kind of patriarchy and this kind of sexist element, there's not really much else to say. Like, I've just kind of talked about it now because it's happening and it's interesting. But like, I don't know, unless I can tie a few knots together, I probably won't make a video about it unless it's something people want to see. I don't think there are enough of my audience that watch House of the Dragon to justify a video anyway. And as you'll know, I've been a bit preoccupied with stuff recently. I am working on something now, finally, something quite big as well, which is going to be really exciting. Maybe a bit controversial, so keep an eye out for that. I don't know when it's going to be ready, but yeah, Matriarmy, people, fans of my channel that are here, keep an eye out for that. It will be coming soon. But yeah, hopefully we got Swolsome and Soul Bunny dropping in later. I think Bridget's a bit busy today, unfortunately. But yeah, we're going to definitely talk about the Zora Momdani stuff, which is happening like at the moment as well. But chat, anything else you want to talk about, let me know. Drop a question or comments, now is your little QA opportunity. But yeah, that was my little House of the Dragon rant. I really am enjoying the series. So like, because of the time difference as well, it comes out here Monday at like 11 a.m. So when my husband's gone off to work, it's my little like, okay, end of the weekend, like sit down and watch my little House of the Dragon. And I'm really enjoying it though. It's very good. But who has any questions, any comments about what you want to talk about this week? What's been going on? I've been kind of out of the loop, like somewhat. Obviously, we're catching the main things. We caught the FD signifier video essay, which was fantastic. You have to cover count bin face before he wins. Okay, yeah. So I didn't actually cover this before. Fantastic point. I can kind of solo this, I guess. So let me just... Okay. Count bin face is a fascinating thing happening in UK politics. So basically, Nigel Farage, a right-wing pundit and politician in the UK, was basically caught out in this kind of scandal about how much money he was like gifted, to the sum of like £5 million. He was gifted by a very problematic figure, in my opinion. Bear in mind as well, like £5 million, people quite rightly were like, that's a lottery win. That's like winning the lottery. You would win £1 million. And I think we talk about like billionaires and millionaires so often that we can like forget how much that money is, really. So Nigel Farage gets gifted this money, and so because of the UK politics, like the system, he would have that like looked into. So he's kind of panicking, and so allegedly, this is the situation that's like uncovered. I wish Bridget was here because she could put it so much more eloquently than me. But he is a politician of is it Clapton? Like represents Clapton. He steps down from that position. Unheard of as well. Like that's like quite a huge situation. He steps down, so there's no person like representing Clapton. He steps down so that he can. If he steps down, the people looking into his finances and any donations and stuff would get kind of like halted because he's not an elected official. I think this is how it goes. So like he wouldn't need to have his finances looked into. So it's already at that level the most corrupt thing you can do. It's like you've been caught red-handed. So Clacton, yeah. You've been caught red-handed. So if you step down, you can't be looked into further because it's like there's nothing to look into. You've technically quit your job effectively. So he steps down and then he goes up for re-election in Clacton, declares a new election because obviously if he steps down, there's a by-election would happen to replace him. He's like, oh, I'm going to join this race to get re-elected. Unheard of. What an absolute scandal already. So because of that, Nigel Farage can't be looked into his finances further, which also, in my opinion, tells us that maybe there were more donations than this initial 5 million. You can like imagine that, can't you? If there was just that one donation, why would he not? It's already out there. Why would he not just take the hit and continue as a politician? No. So you can confer that like maybe you can deduce that there are like other things happening. So he wanted to avoid those hitting the fan. So he steps down. Anyway, declares he's going to run in the by-election. What he was counting on, though, what Nigel Farage was counting on was all of the other parties to put up someone else for their by-election and for him to kind of win it back. Because what that also then does, if he wins, hypothetically in his mind, he can declare a kind of, what do they call it? Like a mandate from the people. If he wins, even if he gets caught out in all of these other controversies, Nigel Farage can say, well, look, I won the seat back. People don't care. Stop bringing it up. He can kind of push attention away from himself. I just drank a bunch of lemonade. Now I am a little bit burpy. Homemade lemonade though. So that was his intention. But it didn't go to plan. And this is why we're talking about Count Binface. Because the Conservatives didn't run someone, Labour didn't run someone, even the Greens said we're not going to run someone. And their kind of wording was like, we're not going to play Nigel Farage at his game. Like, he's done this quite controversial thing, so we're not going to run a candidate and give him the satisfaction of even just like the spotlight in the news of like talking about all of his like, you know, racist and you know, horrible talking points. Even any spotlight of him on the news is not healthy. So no one runs a candidate, which is like already not going to plan for poor Nigel. Hi Stalwich, hi everyone, thank you for joining. I'm just completely ad-libbing on my own. We've got the solo show today, just like old times, live streaming. Feel free, anyone in the chat, ask questions you want, bring up any topic, we can get to it after, before the rest of the crew arrive. You feel free. So it doesn't go as planned for poor fashy Nigel Farage. And what does happen though is I think at the time I was looking into this, it was just Count Binface. I think there are other smaller party people putting up a candidate, like the Monster Raving Loony Party or Bonker Rainy Loony Party or something. Another like silly party. And something about British politics is that you can have these like smaller parties that are just there to kind of make light of the politics of it all. But Count Binface is... Oh, hello. Who's this? Either it's aliens or someone else is jumping in. Hey, it's so funny. I'm going to finish my thing because I'm nearly finished about Count Binface. But so the one person that does join is Count Binface, who is this like fake, he's like a comedian. He wears an actual bin on his head so no one knows his face at this point. He's like pretends to be like an alien, and he is the only person running against Nigel Farage. I think that might have changed, but like at the point I was looking into this, he was the only person running against Nigel Farage. So what's happened is the entire British media is like having to take this battle like seriously. It's so hilarious. So we've got this like fake alien bin face character against Nigel Farage, and Nigel Farage is the reason he redid this like campaign is to try and say like, oh, I'm fighting against the establishment, like, you know, everyone's against poor little me. But what's happening effectively is that like he just is arguing against a bin, and Count Binface is using like memes and social media to just completely make light of Nigel Farage, and he's looking so stupid in the process. We'll cover that more when Bridget's back for sure, but yeah, that's happening in UK politics at the moment. It's honestly hilarious, and the question really becomes, can Nigel Farage win the seat, and or more importantly, can Count Binface win? And you've got this whole entire like nation of people wanting Count Binface to win because it would just be so funny. And if anything about British humour is just like, we would always go for the funny option, even if it's so unserious. Like, so yeah, hugely hilarious thing happening. I wanted to cover that weeks ago, but I will definitely keep an eye out on any updates, and we will update you here on Left Wave Transmission. Speaking of which, my wonderful co-hosts have arrived. Is everyone ready to join? Thank you so much for being here, team. I believe we have Soul Bunny and Swolson. Welcome. How you doing? Oh, bless you. Okie dokie, that sounds all good. How are you doing, Finn? Oh, awesome. And we have viewers of Soul Bunny as well, looking gorgeous, Soul Bunny, as always. Oh, people may not be able to hear everyone. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I'm on it. Every week. Bear with me, team. Sergi Blink, a classic. I'm sorry, team. Bear with, bear with. Okay, how about now? This did work
Yeah.
before.
Can you? Yeah. Can you hear
We
us?
good?
Oh yeah, I
We
think
should
that.
be heard. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
can we hear now? Can we hear now? Can we hear now? Chat, chat, confirm. Why every week? Well, like I don't even change the settings. It's just like it decides to just not work. I'm so glad you were here. I
It's
was
because
trying to.
audio is like the dark arts.
It's the
Audio is
dark
just
arts.
it truly is. It's the number of times I have set up to record and I've been like, that was great. Like I didn't even have to do double takes. It was just like I was so on, and then it was like my audio just wasn't working. It just wasn't
Fully,
recording. Like I just sat
fully.
and talked to the camera for half an hour and got nothing. Nothing.
It's unbelievable. I think Discord specifically as well. The mixing Discord with OBS is like, no, the internet just said no, thank you. I think we can
Yep.
hear though, which is awesome. So yeah, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I was trying to ad lib on my own, and I was just like, I started talking about House of the Dragon, and then no one in chat watches it. I was like, oh, it's really good. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay. No.
I'm sure you were killing
Well,
it.
we're here. I mean, late, but again, I had to make it to the train. But put aside that, let's get to the topics.
Let's do it.
What did you covered so far already?
So yeah, I was talking about the UK politics, like Nigel Farage versus Bin Face situation, which we're just kind of keeping up to date on. But it's just like a hilarious comment on like UK politics, like so unserious. People are so in it for the meme. But yeah, I'm just finishing up talking about that. I mean, the main thing I want to talk about is Zora Momdani talking about. I mean, it's basically
Yeah.
created a meme, which I think is so important. That's kind of my thing I want to talk about. But I'm happy to go. I'm happy to have a break, collect my thoughts, and have a coffee while you take the floor. You
Yeah.
wonderful people.
We will take the floor. I think one thing we should probably talk about is that new announcement that Trump just recently made. Him announcing his fourth term. He's going to run for his fourth time.
They've been hinting at
just
that for
happened.
so long. Fourth term. They've been so hinting at this, and like, yeah,
Sorry, his fourth run. Fourth. 'Cause
yeah,
he said he won. He basically is saying he won the third time. He's going to win for a fourth. Yeah.
crazy. Just living in a different dimension and reality. Yeah, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised.
Finn, why don't you chime in on that? Let's give Luis a chance to catch her breath.
Thank you.
Just holding it down for us. Yeah, I wanted to. What was your thoughts when you heard that?
I mean, not surprised. Like, I'm pretty sure they've been selling with Trump 2028 merch or something. So like that's been a thing already. So I wasn't shocked. I'm also not shocked because I'm not a historian. No one should ever turn to me for history, but I know enough about history to know that this is what fascists do. Like they have, kind of mock elections, tumbling into just full authoritarianism. And so we've had the mock elections already. There are people who would argue with me on that. But we are like moving towards authoritarianism where it's like, yes, we will elect people, but really it's just, this is your leader, this is who the people in power have chosen. Yeah. Not shocked. I do think that this really needs to light a fire under the asses of every single US citizen. It should light a fire under everyone's ass. I don't really believe in borders. I'm one of those scary leftists who thinks that national borders are bullshit. Mostly because they are made up. But anyway, so I think that this should be motivating everybody to take action. But I especially think that American citizens, as long as these like designations of nation states exist, this is the time to be general striking. This is the time to be like, nope, I will not. In fact, be participating in this economy. I will not be doing anything that I need to do to keep this society running because this society is not serving me. So that's kind of the long and short of my take.
Completely agree.
Oh no, a communist. Watch out.
I'm loving seeing a lot of the like DSA and stuff being like not like I'm not a communist. I just believe people should have healthcare, and there's me watching like I fully am.
Yeah,
Let's make that a thing. But
fully a communist.
fully a communist. Yeah, no, I agree. Like they've been hinting at this for so long, and like you say, Finn, that they're doing that to test the waters and see the reaction and see what they can get away with.
Yep.
And they've called other elections a hoax, like so that they can start to already take away the legitimacy of any kind of election they don't win. So it's like the writing is on the wall. Like it's fully, they're going to do it next. They really are.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, you gonna say something?
No. Go ahead.
Well, I think they've already been letting us know for such a long time and making jokes about it in humor. I mean, even in his 2024 election, he was already making jokes how he's going to stay in power and that he'll run for, he'll have a third term. So he was already kind of like Project 2025, letting us know like what their plans were. So I think with how they're purposely like trying to sabotage the midterms when they were supposed to, they know they're going to lose. So they're going to pull everything they can because I think we're in a state where Trump has a lot of these Republican politicians as yes men. And the ones that aren't yes men, like Ken Paxton, got voted out. So they're voting out all the people who aren't yes men. They're campaigning. Other Republicans are being campaigned. People who are already in power and getting replaced. So I think they're setting it up to where there's going to have a lot of Republican candidates who are complicit and are going to allow things to happen because they're too afraid to buck down. So that's kind of my prediction. Like it's going to get to that 2028 and they're going to like cower and not like Democrats aren't going to make a strong enough stand. It's going to be progressives. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree about the Democratic Party not pushing back in any way because they're not meant to. They're there to facilitate the status quo. We know this, but like, it's such a small point. But one thing that always comes to mind is that the outcry about Biden being so sleepy, so like, not fit for the job, too old, and then like Trump being fully all of those things now and still having the audacity, the narcissism to believing he can run again. Like, I know that's such a small point. There's obviously like wars happening, but it does bug me that like even the Democratic Party aren't using that as a tool to like fight back at this. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not even taking the lower hanging fruit, let alone the bigger questions. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to drastically change topics. I just want to be delighted about the fact that we have our first troll, you guys. We've officially made it.
I was going to say. I
That's
was
so
looking at the chat.
exciting.
I was like, what's
I
happening?
love this for us.
What's
Thank you,
happening here?
Francis Tremblay. Yes, thank you. God bless you. Yep, Trump 2028. Go off, brother.
Yeah, you don't quite.
Good job.
Yeah, you don't know the role you've just provided to us, Francis. You are our first
Yep.
troll, episode 7, and I love how I sat here for half an hour talking on my own, and I had no trolls to even toy with. And you appeared now. Who is? So
I'd
what
say
is-
you get a free prize, but I'm pretty sure that you think you need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps to get anything. So if you'd like, I can make you work for a prize.
honestly like bold.
Invest in my crypto coin. I'll give you a
bold.
prize. Sorry.
Bold
please
to
go
be
on.
a troll in this. Like we will tear you apart. Like we have no. Like you're in dangerous territory. But what does TDS
Yeah, it's kind of
mean?
wild showing up here. This is where the communists are. Oh, Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah. Yep. My favorite thing about Trump derangement syndrome is the fact that the people who showed up at his rallies wearing diapers in solidarity with signs that say real men wear diapers, true story, this actually happened, were the people accusing everyone else of having Trump derangement syndrome. Now, talked about this last time. No shade on people who wear adult diapers. Like we're not about that. Being ableist is horrible, and I've seen a lot of people being ableist towards Trump. Personally, I'm against him because again, Nazi pedophile. It's like the two worst things that you can be. That's my problem with him. Whether he's disabled or old, not really a concern. But I just think it's really cute. Like I just think it's super cute how his supporters love to accuse other people of having Trump derangement syndrome while they're like decking out their trucks in Trump gear, they're wearing
Yeah.
Trump merch, like they are so far up his ass they could probably diagnose whatever's going on with his bowels. Like it's wild. It's wild. And for them to show up and accuse other people of having Trump derangement syndrome, it's like it's just I don't know. Like I said, it's just cute. Like it's just
It's
cute. I think
it's
it's sweet.
I think they're getting ahead of using the term derangement as a word against other people because they know full well they
Totally.
are in the thick of
Yeah.
it as a cult, as a death cult, as you all are. Francis, you're wanting Trump 2028. So do you even stand for what half of America like was built on? This is coming from a commie Brit living in Japan as well. Like I know your constitution better than you do apparently. Like it's just farcical. Like has anyone seen this like the podcast where they it's the like son and daughter talking to their like mugger parents. They were like featured on
Oh
Kazan.
yes.
They had Monet
Oh
Exchange
yes.
on as a guest. Even her, even the mum, is starting to be like, well, yeah, Trump does lie. I don't like that when I shot the man. That was bad. I don't know. It's worrying. It's like you're even your most hardcore fans are able to turn around and say, well, he does lie a lot. He is a paedophile. He is, a fascist. Like, so honestly, Francis, well done for making it this far in the death cult. I hope you get the the rewards you think you deserve.
Yep.
Yeah, fun. First ever troll. I think this is because in my sleepy haze of setting up the stream, I didn't actually set it to subscribers only. So maybe we'll keep that off just for the fun of the game, just just to see what else happens. Hey.
If they want to show up and play, that's fine. Like honestly, I mean, I know that when someone shows up and they're like, "Oh, is this the TDS channel?" Like, we're here to just say Trump 2028. That person's just trolling, but genuinely, Francis, you want to chat,
Yeah,
we
true.
can chat.
Let's
Like
talk.
you if you want to engage our chatters here are lovely. We are lovely, not that I'm biased, but like if you want to have an actual conversation, by all means, like pull up, let's go.
The only thing TDS about this channel is me trying to hold the fort for 20 minutes before the rest of the cast come. That was pretty tedious, if you know what I'm saying. But,
No,
Ayo.
ew.
I can imagine. And that's why, like, even though, like, and I was like, oh, I made it in the time on my train. I'm gonna try my best to, like, 'cause I knew you were like holding the fort, and it was funny because I came like a minute before Finn got here, so like, yeah, just I'll try to
You
give you
say,
as much time as I can to help. But moving on back to the topic, I do think why Trump is running for a third term is because he knows once he's out, he's going to jail. He
Mm-hmm.
knows if Democrats
Yep.
win the Senate and the House and the Senate, he's going to jail. At every way, he's in a position where the only way he feels like he's going to get off if he maintains power. So I think it's more like a power struggle to maintain himself. So I think he's in a
100%.
position he kind of cornered himself to where the only way he feels like as an escape plan to save himself is to just go be a dictator. And what they're gonna he's pretty much like what they're gonna do about it. Like he would rather invoke a civil war for him running and winning a third if he were to quote unquote win
Yep.
a third term. He would rather invoke a civil war that would cause that and then to put down like the ego and the narcissism and let go of the power. He would rather, and I think that's kind of. I mean, to be real, that's kind of like my biggest fear because he has a very volatile fan base of super fans who would do crazy things to, you know, keep him president. So yeah, he's gonna do the same. He said they're trying to steal an election, you know.
Yep.
We already can see where that goes. So I feel he's speeding up that kind of like divide that already was there and that intensity that people are already prepared for. And I think now, in a way, we're in like a ticking time clock right now. And I don't feel the people in power, like Democrats who can do something, aren't really saying or doing anything. I still think they're doing I don't know, they're doing the pretending to be shocked that Republicans are acting this way.
Yeah, like
They're
still
doing the
after like
political
Yeah.
3
equivalent of
years.
thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, after all this
Like,
time as well, which is wild to me. Like you said, Sobani, they've been talking about this since the Project 2025 thing. Like, this is no new thing. I remember watching leftist creators talk about this, like in the Project 2025. People actually sat and read it years ago, like a good couple years ago, when 2025 was the goal. That came out in like 2024, didn't it? So like they've been planning this for ages. So any Democrat feigning that this is like, oh my god, I can't believe he said this, it's like they've either not been paying
mhm.
attention or they're not being sincere.
They're
Yeah.
they're also feeding the distraction. And don't get me wrong, like, yes, we should care about this kind of thing. It's not just a distraction, but it is a distraction. It is flooding the zone from the fact that one of the lead prosecutors who's investigating Trump's like, war crimes in Ecuador just got assassinated. Like, just got killed, what, 5 or 6 days ago. I don't know. I'm still learning about what happened because I only just found out about it like yesterday.
Yeah, same.
Um, but this is like it's fascinating to me how many people, when Charlie Kirk went to, the giant debate room in the sky, when that happened, everyone's like, oh, there's no space for political violence in America, blah 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 blah. So firstly, they didn't have much to say about Melissa Hortman, her husband, and their dog. They were like weirdly quiet about that, which is beyond fucked up for obvious reasons. But secondly, like, I guess like this goes back to, so this is why I think borders are such bullshit. Like, this is one of the many 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 reasons I could go off about this, but one of the many reasons why I think borders are bullshit is like, if it takes place in America and it is a person that is like socially salient to people, oh god, we can't like abide by political violence, this is so bad. They put on this like big performance. They like make a big show of it about like how they're so opposed to this kind of thing. But like, if somebody gets killed in another nation who is investigating your government, nothing to say about it. Like, absolutely nothing to say. Why isn't mainstream media covering this? It's just like, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
He went
No,
ice
yeah.
skating down. Always some motherfucker trying to ice skate uphill. Oh, that was a good reference.
Have
Thank you,
y'all been hearing
Starbush.
about the Nolan Wells case that's ongoing right now? The boy in the Mississippi, the kid that the 8-year-old guy boy that died in Mississippi
Oh
on Fourth
yeah.
of July
Oh
when he was
yeah,
caught
yeah,
with
yeah.
his three white friends.
I saw that on
They
the
just
boat.
released some audio. They
Yeah.
just
Oh,
released some
did they?
audio from a 911 call, and someone enhanced the audio, and you hear in the background.
What does
Yeah,
it
it
say?
looks like people going to jail. Okay, you could hear them asking like, are them just people in the background frantic like, Nolan, no Nolan, like, it's like he's dead. Like, you're hearing them saying that those in the background. So this just came out. This was just released, I think yesterday. So yeah, I think it was either yesterday or the day before that was released. But I think it was like the Mississippi Coast Guard or whatnot, or something like whoever, like
Jesus.
not Coast Guard, but whoever because their boat was sinking, so they called them for help. Um, and you just hear them in the background, like the chaos of like, just like them freaking out that like what sounds like is like he's either dead or dying, and not unresponsive. So, all these, just seeing how all these people were moving, they all immediately when the case happened, it's like they didn't even when the immediately when it all happened, they said they didn't know where he was. They said that, oh, he went somewhere else. They had his phone, they deleted stuff off the phone, and they just like they all made all their Instagrams and social media private. They all got lawyers immediately because
Oh,
I noticed, like, we were saying from the jump, like, this was
Christ.
weird the way they're moving. It's like innocent people don't get lawyers. Um, One of the son's mom is a judge.
Yeah, I saw
The
that.
stepmom is the judge.
Yeah.
So I think
Outrageous.
they know exactly what happened, and I think they weren't forthcoming. And I think things are going to start cracking now that this audio was released to show like the story you're giving us doesn't add up. Why are you guys in? You didn't mention this boat sinking this call, and then you're hearing in the background them saying Nolan is dead. You killed Nolan, or Nolan's dead. Nolan's dead. Not they killed the dead, but it's just like, yeah, that. I have my eyes on that right now, and the people, even someone is like, Miss Rachel, the kids lady.
Yeah.
She even made a tweet about it and saying that Nolan was white and his friends were black, the case would have been navigated entirely differently.
Yeah.
And them boys would be in jail. So, yeah, it seems like potentially this might just be a fucking cover up. And this is the thing, this is Mississippi. For those that don't know, there's a long history of them all joining ranks and keeping each other safe. So there's always so much injustice, but it's like corrupt. It shows that all these people were involved from higher ups, from the police, from the toxicologists, the people that checked the body, all these and I was wondering, why aren't they releasing the reports of the reports and the independent report when they did the test on the body to how he potentially passed away, and it was inconclusive, the independent one. So it just seems like it's old school Mississippi racism, but they tried it. But now that this audio's out and it's going to be a public court trial, it sucks that boy lost his life. And it should not be pulling teeth to get justice like this, but this is what parts of America are that level of corrupt because it's the South.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, one of the most radicalizing things I've gone through in the past few years is understanding or like realizing that the systems in place that we get brought up to be taught bring justice are nothing of the sort. They are very much there to protect certain classes, mostly white cis men and capital, and they're effectively used to take away the rights of the oppressed minorities. And like the clear-cut evidence of this happening, like this Noah case is not the first, and gosh, I hope it will be the last, but I doubt it will be. Like, it's effectively like used for this. Exactly this. I know it pales in comparison with regards to like the crime, but is anyone else keeping up to date with the Reckless Ben Lego thing happening on YouTube?
Yes.
Like,
no.
I'm not gonna even like talk about that because it's about Lego. Get over it. It's nowhere near as serious as like people being killed. But what has been brought to light is like the Mormon Church, like basically co-opting the entire police of Ohio. I'm not like sure of like the structure of it all, but like
yes, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah,
you get like body cam footage of people being like white men talking to each other and being like, well, we don't have any charges, so we need to make them up to take this guy down because he's talking about the truth on body cam footage that's being like hidden, and then they're finding it, and it goes back to like Mormons looking out for themselves, and you just think like, what really pisses me off is you still get right wing pundits and nut jobs that can't get over the fact that like the Odyssey has a black character in it. They can't even get over that. Whereas we're talking about like, hey, can you not corrupt the entire police state of Ohio, or like, can you not, like somebody's saying, can you not cover up the fucking murder of a black teenager on a boat with his white friends? Like we're at that level. We're talking about like Trump asking for another term, and they're like not happy with the fact that there are some non-white people in a film. We're not having the same level of conversation, and it's so, the fact that they're both taken as so serious, it just really, but anyway, the Lego situation is wild. It's honestly quite shocking. It's so overt, like somebody's saying, it's so like just out there, just corruption, pure corruption.
You know what's interesting? That bricks and minifigs thing is radicalized or making people who are apolitical aware of how close and tied the cops and police station and like businesses, and they're learning that the police force is there to protect profit capital. Yeah. They're learning that's a perfect example of that. And I mean, even the person that's covering it, I wouldn't call that person a leftist. I'd call them probably like a liberal at best.
Yeah.
That probably has no black friends. Let's be real. This is some white boy. But them breaking that case in themselves, it's like probably unraveling stuff for them. So it's probably making them question everything. It's for the first time, and it sucks that it's taken some damn Legos from
Well,
people.
just because we've talked about it, and poor Finn, you're looking you're looking quite confused at the situation if you haven't caught up. Basically, TLDR, there's this like brand of as Soul Bunny said, bricks and minifigs. It basically has a bunch of like Lego that is worth a lot because it's like old Star Wars like stuff. Long story short, uh, the franchise is like taken over, and some of it is like some of this Lego goes missing. It's owned by someone, but like the franchise owner is saying that she can't find it. Basically, this random YouTuber, Reckless Ben, tries to like solve the mystery himself, trying to do like, you know, vigilante justice, but on finding Miss Lego, like no stakes. But what he has done in the process is like he goes to the place and then he gets the police called on him, and then he basically has these like fake charges made up by the CEO, the owners, allegedly fake charges, the owners of the business, like to go out against him, and he's like recording everything. So he actually has all of these alibis, and he's like, well, no, this is what happened. Why are you saying this happened? And so because he's like this YouTuber that's like recording the whole situation, he actually has all of this evidence. And so then you can almost see these systems where they're used to having, you know, the older white guy's word against everyone else winning, and it's just like not even a case. It's like it's bumping heads because this guy is like, well, I recorded the conversation and he didn't say that. That's a lie, you know, and it's all this stuff. So you get this like random YouTuber trying to find this like lost Lego, and it's turned into this massive like corrupt situation where he's like having fake charges made up by, you can see these body cam footage, like I said, about this like the CEO of this company and the Utah police trying to find what they can arrest him for and making it up. And then you also have this YouTuber that's clearly got like lawyers on retainer and is doing everything legally. His cases are being thrown out even though he has evidence, and he's like, well, I'm trying to serve these people, I have this evidence for this case and all of this stuff. And then, you know, the police are like, well, we're not going to do that, we're going to actually arrest you. Like, it's crazy. So TLDR, it's basically, it all started over this small little thing about these like missing Legos, and it's he got like not subpoenaed, but like I couldn't speak at one point. So then like Coffeezilla, huge YouTuber Coffeezilla, like covered it, and it's just got more popularity. But it's just a huge symbol of how corrupt the like systems are, and to tie it back to what we were saying earlier, this is why anyone still fighting for the systems to continue existing are just as fascist in my mind, because it took a big jump straight to fascism. But you know, these systems are there designed to oppress certain classes and uphold certain systems like patriarchy or white supremacy and capitalism. That's what they do. And one of the most radicalizing things I've ever got, yeah, and religion, yeah, is realizing that that's the case. These systems aren't here to protect all of us, and that should be chilling. That should be bone chilling. That should be frightening as fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm gonna probably have to get going soon. It's my stoppage in a couple minutes, but probably
don't
y'all
dox yourself, darling.
In the same breath that I feel like, despite everything we talked about today and all these sad cases, I do believe we have to remember to stay hopeful, stay engaged, because there are fights that we are winning. There are, I mean, right now we have some major elections going on. People who aren't good back leftists like Graham Plattner, them people still need to get gathered. Which also, if you notice, the loudest ones are running from them lashing. That's one thing. The loudest Graham Plattner supporters plug their ears the most. They're running from them lashes. They don't want to admit no wrong. I mean, if you saw Kyle Kalinski's response to the backlash.
Sure did. And the fact that he was like framing it as, you know, well, you guys are asking me to apologize for supporting a Democrat. It's like, no, that is not what is happening. That is not what is happening. We are asking you to consider why you went to bat so hard for someone that more marginalized people than you who are part of your movement were saying, I don't trust this guy. I don't like this guy. That's very different. That's not getting mad at you for supporting a Democrat. That is getting frustrated with you for being a defender of someone who was showing obvious signs of being dangerous. Very different things. Yeah, it's Kyle time. We
Kyle
talk
time.
about Kyle like every time. Every time we've all met. Again, every time he comes up, I like Kyle. I
Yeah,
appreciate what
same.
he's doing. I don't
But
appreciate how he handles everything all the time. I do think, and in one of his recent segments, he was talking about whiteness as a construct, and yeah, please talk about that. Like that's great. But when you're talking about it, you need to also be looking for it in yourself because, like, if you are like, we all are subject to whiteness, all of everyone learns white supremacy culture, but white people are extra, like we're white people, right? Like we get taught the
we
whiteness
benefit from it.
performance in a way that nobody else, exactly, like we are incentivized to engage with it in a way that nobody else is. And so if you're critiquing it, that's great. Part of the critiquing process is looking for it in yourself, and one of the ways that it comes up is being really threatened by people who are not like you, particularly when it comes to how they're racialized, pointing out problems. Like, yeah,
Also, just normalize admitting you were fucking wrong. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Why is that
it's
such
okay to
a
be wrong.
why is that such a controversial thing? Like it it comes down to the patriarchal white supremacist thing of like, intelligence is a must. Might is right. Just admit you fucked up. You're not gonna lose subscribers. You're not gonna lose any capital. You're not gonna lose any status of your channel. You might gain a few fucking followers. Like it
Yes.
it is something that irks me in that entire, I'm gonna say it, male dominated content creation space.
Yep.
Admit you were wrong, dude.
Yeah, it's okay.
You're
It's
not gonna.
totally fine.
It's so apparent, and oh yeah, amongst everything else, obviously that you were quite rightly saying.
Yep.
Um, shall we?
And you don't. Oh, sorry.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
I
Keep going.
I
Keep
one
going.
one more thought on that. You
Oh,
don't
keep
have
talking.
to rescind the things that you were right about. Like it's, and you also don't have to bring them up as justification. Like it's okay. People who are going to support you appreciate the work that you are doing. They appreciate your honesty and they appreciate your humanity. Making mistakes is part of that. So when you own your mistakes, you don't have to give a bunch of caveats. You don't have to give a bunch of justification. You don't have to give a bunch of explanations as to why you made those mistakes, right? Like you don't have to say like, oh, well, I was just supporting him because he's a Democrat. No, like you were ride or die for someone who a bunch of people pointed out the problems with him. Part of that conversation is the fact that, establishment Democrats and Republicans alike were trying to take him down. That needs to be part of the conversation too, because these things get
Yeah.
messy. Like this isn't a clear either or. This kind of thing happens because human beings are very messy, messy creatures. So talk about that, sure. But when you're owning your mistakes, don't couch it in all the things you were right about. Like, just acknowledge that you made the mistake. That's a lot more humanizing. It's, I don't know. I don't think it's not necessary to be like, no, but you should still trust me though. It's like we're here because we do trust you. Like we're here because we trust you. You
100%.
don't have to convince us. Like it's
Like
fine.
I still get my news from Carl. I have a tab open about exactly what somebody was saying about the Trump person looking into Trump being assassinated. I still, I would even go as far as to say I still trust Kyle because because I have the privilege to do so as someone who I am. Like fool me once kind of vibe. Like he fucked up on this royally. Like feelers are out for like, okay, be careful. But like I trust him to get my news from him, and I know that a lot of the times his heart is in the right place. And like I always try and say, whenever I take down anyone, I have a spicy take on someone on the left, far more positives than negatives towards the left project. And I think we have to be so clear about
Yep.
that. Like we're about to talk about fucking Benjamin Netanyahu. Like this just keep things into perspective. A lot of the times Carl is fighting the good fight. But what I think really specifically actually to talk about Israel is that like in this very polarizing time that we are in, you can have both the left and the right, Democrats, Republicans, conservatives and Labour, whatever, both be on the same side of certain topics. And they get there from completely different ways and different paths and for different motives and reasons. But we have to discern like why we are there. And I think the Israel situation is a key example of that, is that like you get some, like Marjorie Taylor Greene's complete whack job right wing people that are against the genocide happening in Palestine. You know, Candace Owens is another example. Someone who is like overtly against the things happening. And we have to really, really be careful in how we tread about like not conflating those two things. I really like I disagree with the phrase of like an enemy of my enemy is my friend. I don't agree. People can have two enemies.
Yeah, no,
Get over it. Like,
absolutely not.
This isn't a school playground. Like, so like, and bringing it into the Karl Kalinske situation is like, he is on the left, but that doesn't mean he is not susceptible to certain white supremacist upbringings and things that we learn that need to be unpicked. And like, we just have to just be aware of that as we step forward. But yeah, does that make sense about the whole? Yeah.
Oh, no, totally. And like, dare I say it, this is one of those things that like might make some people mad. But that's, I mean, good, right? So we are all susceptible to white supremacy. And like I said, white people more so because like, again, we benefit from it in a very immediate way. But when I say like everyone learns white supremacist culture, I think that part of the reason why, and I'm not, this is my interpretation, I'm not putting this on him, but Kyle, you know, like has joked about being dark woke before, like where you're not moving in such a way that is sensitive of like language and people's feelings and stuff. And I can I understand where that is coming from, that you don't want it to just be performative for other leftists. You want to actually be shaking things up. And there is a problem with language policing, presentation policing, like how, you know, if someone uses a phrase that they don't realize goes back to like really awful origins, I have seen it before in like progressive spaces where somebody will get like shut down and talked about like they're a horrible monster because they use terminology that they didn't realize went back to something bad or was out of date, right? Like I've seen that happen before. So white supremacy culture is this tendency to be very either or, to have a right way and a wrong way, and to talk about things in really, really strict binaries like that, right? And I have seen leftist spaces where this takes place. It absolutely does. So I understand when people like Kyle are taking that approach of like, well, fuck that in particular, but there are other components of white supremacist culture that you are reinforcing that are deeply problematic as well. So you can't just take one piece of it and act like you are resisting the way it has been used in otherwise progressive spaces. You have to look at all of the pieces of it and engage more fully with the entire machine. You know, am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense.
Also, I think there's an element that I think the big elephant in the room that's being missed, not intentionally or anything, but what it is that you remember Kyle and all these people, they talk the way they do. They have the kind of political stance they do because they were 2016 Bernie bros that took in anti-SJW content. I mean, like really, like the
Totally,
type,
yeah.
the side of him that we're fighting is that anti-SJW side that doesn't concede ground and whatnot. That type of toxic masculinity. I mean, it's kind of similar because I just had this conversation with a creator that I interviewed. I won't say their name, but let's just say they were here. I mean, we wanted to try to get this person on. They're in the server chat, but I won't say it. I wanted to be a surprise for the audience. I'll say it off chat, but yeah, we're having that conversation. We're realizing that these same people are like so quick to bring in like the toxic like edgelords, ex-edgelords, like they're so quick to usher them in, and it's because like they enjoy that, like they want to be able to be edgy still on the left and whatnot. I mean, it's kind of like that's like the same thing with the IDEB thing. They were so quick to rush them in.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh yeah.
I muted myself because of a loud train. 1 second.
Oh, okay.
Goodbye. I couldn't hear it, but no,
I was
you're
worried
right.
we were missing what you were saying.
I think it just to
Okay.
like. Okay, Karen.
Okay, but pretty much, yeah. Yeah, that aspect is a very omnipresent trait that we notice from people all from that particular era, and that's why their version of leftism or progressivism looks and sounds like that. Where we're all in the same boat. We all still trust Kyle to give the news. We still trust, it's the way he makes it very acceptable to learn stuff. It's just his whiteness and his male, his ex anti SJW-ness is what keeps getting in the way. Because that's like, those are the things. And I'm noticing, when I was talking to my creator, we're noticing a pattern of these 2016 Birdie Bros, who also happen to end up being on the more, that side of the left, also ended up defending Graham Plattner. So it's like a pattern we're noticing, of that type of like toxic Bernie bros that essentially pushed away people from voting Bernie, particularly Black voters. And like I was saying before, no matter how good your platform is, if it's not only just a presentation, it's not only who you scare off, but it's also who you show who you don't value, who you don't give a fuck about. And they showed that to Black folks. And to this day, I was talking to said creator for my video, but I think what it is, the reason why they did the identity politics talk in IDPOL is because they were mad that Black voters didn't vote for Bernie Sanders overwhelmingly, and they were blaming Black voters for the why Bernie lost, not just the DNC, but they make sure to that's why people like Mr. V, I'll just call him Lolicon Horse Guy. Like the Lolicon Horse Guy was saying statements calling when he was pushed on something regarding like white people doing the work to de-radicalize himself. He was like, well, why didn't Black people vote for what's it called, Bernie Sanders overwhelming, like basically trying to blame Black people, but that's a lot of Bernie bros mentality. So they saw like, oh well, their identity doesn't matter because they make stupid decisions anyways. And I think that was the start of when the term, they're already using identity politics in the anti-SJW space, but that's the start when progressives started pushing that in, using that language. So I think it's rooted in that frustration that Black voters weren't just going to do it because trickle down socialism is what the class reductionist Bernie bros were selling to Black folks. Like, well, we'll all benefit eventually. We'll all benefit if we get this. I'm like, well, so all these other. So yeah, I call it trickle down socialism.
Yeah.
Well, but that said, I do have to be going.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll leave y'all off from that, and I want to see how this combo goes.
Yes, thanks for dropping in.
Thank you so much. Be careful on the way home. Be safe.
And for sharing all of that as well. Ooh.
Definitely. Bye.
Where did I go? Oh, I'm back. I can't with guys who complain about IDPOL, and it's like, oh, that's all identity politics. Anyway, Black voters are the problem. Like,
fully. As somebody was saying that, I was also thinking like, well,
self-awareness levels like
fully, and like,
sorry.
why was the same thing not said about like Kamala Harris not getting voted by the predominantly white men?
Yep.
Why was that not the conversation then, folks? Kyle, what was I going to say that was on my head as she was spitting pure facts? But like, when you have the Carl Kalinskis of the world that are willing to strategically look past their whiteness when it suits them, like, you just can't trust them. Like, you just can't trust that as a safe place to put your politics. Like, does that make sense? Like, and I find like, if we call the 3 pillars of evil, sorry, it's just Louise has lost it. It's half 8 in the morning. But like, if we call them out to be like white supremacy, capitalism, and patriarchy, does it make sense? Are there any others? Am I missing?
Yeah.
Like,
I would put colonialism in there. Although colonialism and white supremacy are like,
it's the Venn diagram.
They're
isn't it? Yeah.
very entwined. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
distinct but entwined.
Colin mindset as well. Yeah, of like,
yeah,
I'm going to take something that's not mine. Like, I see like a lot of this kind of like identity politics being down to the fact that like some people are understanding of these like certain pillars to an extent, but they're like really lacking in the understanding of one of them. Like, like, I'm not claiming to know them all perfectly, but like Cenk Uygur, for example, like can be progressive and can have all of these great policies. Extremely a capitalist shitbag though. Do you know what I mean? Or like, Carl Kalinske can understand about the class war better than ever. He can spit facts about things like that. Fully still doesn't understand everything about white supremacy and his mindset as a white person. Like, and so for me, the real safe creators and stuff that I look to as like pillars of, I don't know, true progressivism is someone that like understands all of these elements, how they also interconnect,
Yes.
and can see themselves in that space. So like, I would say I'm very, very clear cut on my anti-capitalist stance. I live in a fucking shed in the woods. I can't really get further away from being a capitalist. But like, you know, there might still be certain things about my whiteness that I need to unpack as a white girl in Japan, you know, stuff like that. Like, it's like those four pillars. Where do you stand and where are they? Like, and I feel like a lot of these kind of like these Bernie bro leftists that are like dark woke, like you just quite rightly said, that like they don't quite unpack enough about the patriarchy, about why they feel that their presence should be taken more into consideration as the white men in the room. Like, there's still so much left to unpack there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's all identity politics until it's your
yeah.
identity that you need to look at. And then
Yes.
suddenly it's
Yes.
like, oh no, well, that's just normal. And it's like, as long as you're moving through
Exactly.
the world acting like you don't have an identity that is politically constructed just like everybody else, we are not going to get anywhere. We are not going to be able to overthrow the system because you are not aware of the fact that you are participating in it just like everybody else. You need to look at your own position within that system. Like, it just, you're white, male, and like, yes, cis, yes, straight, but even like, I'm going to put queer men in there, white and male, because I move through the world being perceived as a cis man.
Yeah.
If I were to travel, if anyone were to get hold of my medical records, like various things, obviously that there's a lot of safety that collapses very quickly for me, but I still move through the world as a white man. I can speak very, very confidently to the fact that this has drastically changed my quality of life, how I am received, how I am like talked about, the kind of services that I get. Like, this has changed. In some ways, it's changed for the worse. It has. But this brings up another thing that I've seen a lot of white guys get upset about, like the lack of supports for men, particularly men who otherwise have privilege, like white men, straight men, etc. They see the lack of supports and they get upset and they're like, oh, well, identity politics just isn't real. It doesn't exist. It's like, no, this is an example of how your identity is a disadvantage in this particular system because the system is the problem.
Like, they're
The
so
system
close
that
and
is
yet so
assigning
far.
value to people based on the intersections of identity is the problem.
And also, like, when you see men moaning about like the male loneliness epidemic and stuff like that, like, it's like they're so close and so far. It's like, well, then let's start unpicking
Yes.
why patriarchy doesn't fucking benefit you. But do you know why? I like to bring it back to the Left Wave Transmission podcast, which you're currently watching now, ladies and gents, and everything in between. I also think that's why trans people are so targeted, because we,
Yeah.
by definition, walk through these pillars differently. We have to. We've had to be where we are. Like, plot twist, people in the chat. All right, I know what it was like to walk through the world as a white man, and I will never unlearn that. I can be who I am now and I can live my truth now, but I will always remember that. And no, like, on top of that, I will also know the difference. I will know how different it is to walk into a room as a woman and have men not laugh at my jokes, have men on dating apps say like, you're funny for a woman, have men, you know, interact with me entirely differently, like question me far more than I ever had before. And like, we all walk through the world differently, especially people that transition later in life. And we, therefore, are this beacon of disruption to these pillars that need to be upheld for this, like, status quo to happen. And I think that's why we're targeted so much. We innately throw a spanner in the works as to why sports is so gendered, even if it doesn't have to be. Like, why can't trans people play chess, for fuck's sake? You know, there's clearly this, like, we're throwing a spanner in the works. But before I go off on that, we really should talk about Zora Mamdani, who's the thumbnail.
Yes, we should.
We always do this thing where we leave the main topic until the end. Then we forget. We go on several tangents and then we just like don't talk about it. And then my thumbnail game just looks so weak because I'm like, boom, Zoran's beautiful face right in the thumbnail and we just don't talk about him. If that's okay with you, Finn.
Absolutely. At some point we need to have a conversation about what it's like to like do the like just to transition in the binary way that like both of us did, because like
True.
There's just so much like the way like people start just like touching your I'm assuming here, people stop touching my body all the time. And I imagine that they just kind of started, like they'll just touch you on the shoulder, they'll touch you on the side, they just touch you all the time. And it's like, what are you doing? But the flip side of that, and this is a really, really good example, and I promise we're going to talk about Zora Mamdani. I
No, fuck
promise.
that. I want to talk about this.
Because the flip side of it is that, like, as a man, it's like, I really love that strangers don't touch me, but nobody touches me. Now nobody touches me.
Give me a hug.
And it's like, yeah, it's like, it's, so on the one hand, it's like, yeah, people don't feel entitled to my body the same way. On the other hand, like, I'm still a human being. I still want physical contact, right? Like,
physical
it's
damage.
really,
Do you know what?
It's
like,
and that is hard.
There's so much here that I'm wondering if, like, do you want to do like a
specific episode about this?
Yeah, like even like a non-podcast episode, like we just talk about this because, like,
Totally.
I think as well for you and I as well, we're taking for granted that we both have the opposite experience, but like you said, it's binary gender from one to the other, which I think, like, I always think to myself, like, I transitioned in a generation where that was the commonplace. And I know I sound very like boomer white woman. It's like, I could be a lesbian. Like, I very much wonder, like, I wonder if non-binary was on the platter of options for me as a young person, if I would have dabbled. But no, like, very much, I grew up with Ugly Betty being my trans representation. That's about all I had. But yeah, I think that I'd love to unpack this because I love how the opposite is true. Like, I remembered stepping into the world and, like, suddenly people are holding doors open for me. I remember something that I really hated, especially with my kind of dabbling into Japanese culture, was that, like, in Japanese culture, men pay for women a lot more, even like in friend circumstances, in like work circumstances. And I remember hating that so much. I hated the expectation that I would pay for my girlies when we're out for dinner. And I obviously, like, any of my friends knew they wouldn't expect me to pay for the bill. Like, but like when I would like enter into new spaces, it would be like, oh, well, they'll get it. And I'm like, no, I fucking won't. Buy me something pretty. I'm a girly. Like, but like, it was such a funny, clash of like how does that have anything to do with gender? Like, do you know what I mean? But it's gender expectation. But yeah, I don't know, what do you want to do? Do you want to just keep on about this, or should we like do some kind of collab episode or just kind of completely talk about that? Because there's so much interesting stuff to unpack. I'm sure loads of people will get as well.
Let's do a trans episode because I'd love to get like Soul Bunny's perspective. I would love to get Bridget's perspective.
Yes.
Like, we have such a great lineup of hosts to talk about that. So I would love to do that. And also, like, we have Mamdani in the thumbnail. Also, I love talking about Zora Mamdani. So like,
the way I'm just parasocially falling in love with this man. Yeah, no, completely. I think
he's
like,
so lovable.
We've also done enough episodes of like politics stuff. We justify one like trans focused episode. So I completely agree. I will put that in the chat. Yeah. Yes, Zoran, lovable. I have a crush on him. I'm a married woman.
We all do.
We all do. You have to. No, completely. So seriously, for a second though, the reason we're talking about him, obviously, this week is the memification of him calling out genocide, which I have so much to say. I think that's so important and so clever. Lots to say though, lots to unpack, but for anyone catching up, just in case, he has hit the headlines in the past few days because in a few interviews and then also in this video he released, he discussed about how he would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he does attend the New York, is it the UN meetings, which are happening now. So part of me is like, what's the tea? But long story short, he released this video where he said, I don't have the power to arrest him, but these people do, and I think we should. And honestly, this video that he released will be studied in history for years to come. I think it had something like millions of likes on all platforms, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. He did the bare minimum of saying the fucking thing. And the entire internet said, yes, that's my mayor. And there's so much to unpack as well, because he did only do the bare minimum. He did what most people have been doing for ages and just called out this genocide. But he did it as a kind of public official. He did it at a crucial time. I think he played his cards really well. So from my perspective, I think what happened in my mind, in my head canon, he realized, like, I don't have the power to arrest him. I can't physically do that. So the next best alternative is to overtly call out this BS publicly. And in doing so, he's kind of sidestepped the fact that, like, he can't do anything about it, but he's not shying away from the fact that he wants to. Does that make sense? Am I like, kind of like trying to sum up what happened,
Totally.
but also like throw in my things? Like he said, like, he should be arrested and I can't do it. Or almost kind of like saying, like, I'm sorry, I can't. I wish I could do more. But the bare minimum also in such a celebratory way. When I say that's the bare minimum, I mean that with such praise. Like, in a world of lies and misinformation, it's radical to just tell the truth.
Yep.
And honestly, if you didn't love the man before, you have to love him now. I don't know why I'm doing Trump fingers. Like, love Zoran Mamdani. If you didn't love him now, you love him now. That was Carl Kalinske doing Trump, by the way. It's a very specific impersonation. If you know, you know. But yeah, what was your initial thought? How did you find it all?
I mean, I really like, I appreciate that the way that he approached it was what, like, here's what I want to do. I can't do that. Here's what I can do with the power that I have. And so it's not just recognizing that he has power as mayor of New York, but recognizing that he has power as someone who has built a following online, someone who is, you know, appreciated by a lot of people, who has this platform to speak from. I think that he was moving very responsibly by doing that. I do like, I think someone actually pointed it out in chat. Yeah. Is it Ulamui? Is that how you say your username? Said, I did see a critique of him saying that he should have said free Palestine and not just condemn Netanyahu. Which, yes. Yeah. And this goes back to, like, you know, not to take it way back, but to the language side of things, that, you know, like the dark woke versus being hyper aware of your language. I think that this is an idea that is still, like, coming together in my mind, so apologies if I don't communicate it well. And I'm sure other people already have far better than I'm about to. But part of having a marginalized experience is having to learn the power of language in a way that other people who don't experience that kind of oppression don't have to, right? Like when you're privileged, you don't have to think about language, because you don't have to think about presentation, because you don't have to think about safety,
Or
right? So there's
end result of your actions. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So there's, like, all of these layers to it. So, like, the defensiveness around, like, being aware of your language and how your language impacts people, and how the words you choose can cause harm, or the things you don't say can cause harm, as in this case. This is very much, like, framed by, you know, the anti-SJW, the Bernie Bro types, as just policing language, of wasting time. But they're missing that piece, that this is a really, really important part of how the, like, very oppressed people move through the world and learn how to survive. That language really, really does matter. And of course, for Zoran Mamdani, like, obviously he knows what it's like to be a marginalized person, right? Like, he is a brown Muslim man in America. Of course he does. I would argue probably more so than me, because people don't know I'm trans until they know I'm trans, right? Like, again, not a contest, but I think that, like, I would be curious to know why. I would be curious about, like, you know, because he has faced a lot of backlash for speaking up, like, in a pro-Palestine capacity in the past. I wonder if it relates to that, where that comes from. If it was just, like, he was, you know, focused on Netanyahu and, like, was making a public statement and didn't include the important, like, free Palestine as part of that. I don't really know, but I think that's a really, just, I don't know. I think that's just an interesting thing to think about and unpack. the things we say and the things that we don't say and the message that that sends to people and how important that is to think about.
I do see the point, and I think as what I saw adjacent to this, I don't know if this is who they meant, but the spooky socialist video about Zoran Mamdani and exactly that, like what could have been done, what could have been said. I don't know if I let me be really clear. Let me be clear. I sound like a politician. I completely agree and understand. But I think in my mind, there is this sense of, specifically in online spaces, of like saying everything everywhere all at once. And
Yes, no, for
I
sure.
I do I agree. Like, you can never say free Palestine enough, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck, until it's free. I also do think, like, can is it not taking away from what was done by, in the instant that it's done, pinpointing on what was missing? Because effectively, in my opinion, he memeified calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal. And is that the only reason that Palestine is facing a genocide? No. Is that the key to the liberation? It's a part of it, but not the main thing. I completely understand all of those things. But on the bridge to that end goal, I think what he did was very good and skilled and well planned. And I don't know. I don't know whether this is my, like, line of calling out leftist infighting, if that makes sense. But, like, for me,
No, definitely.
the memification of it. So just, I wanted to say this from before. The memification of that picture of him with the subtitle Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal being retweeted by wine mums, on a Tuesday afternoon, being like all of the memes of like, I'm not going to get political. Also me, Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. The memification of it is effectively a widespread census of agreement and popular opinion. Yeah. Now that does two things. That tells everyone that is in agreement that you are not alone. You have millions of people liking that video. And that is a consciousness, a mass consciousness that is absolutely crucial in preventing us from feeling alone. And when we feel alone, we feel we have no power. And when we feel we have no power, we don't challenge the status quo and the systems in place. However, the opposite is done in this moment. In this memification of this, we come together as a group. Honestly, seeing how many likes that video got is such a dystopian thing to be saying. It's very Black Mirror, but it was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is it. Do you know what I mean? And at the same time, yes, more could be said, more could be done. We could be storming the UN and arresting him regardless of whether you have the power or not. You know what I mean? Like there is obviously a world out there where like far more is being done actively, and I completely understand that. Yes, but what that also does, it shows the people on the wrong side of history that they are not the popular opinion. I think this is why we have Trump so scared. Yeah. This is why we have the Republicans lashing out. And I am in the opinion that, like, they should be brought to the realization no one's on their fucking side. I've swore so much on this episode. I'm so sorry. But, like, no one...
I swear a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Trump's social media isn't getting millions of likes, funny enough. The retweet of Dylan Mulvaney with the CNN, whatever, news coast's face, isn't... They are not the popular side. I've said this on videos and I get called out a lot for it, but, like, populist, leftist, like, ideologies are populist. They are the most popular for a reason. People might not understand them. People might be kind of socially pushed away from the word like communism, but not actually know what it means. They'll say like capitalism is where they take all your money and you live in a tent, or like communism is, but they're talking about capitalism. That kind of, people are mixed up, people are confused. But the actual notions themselves are very popular. And I think like what Zoran Mamdani did in that video is brought that to light. And I think that's powerful.
Yes.
I think there's space for that. Obviously it's not everything. But I don't know.
But one person can't be everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, I agree. No, go ahead.
one person can't be everything. Also, like I'm sorry, I was typing there because I was getting a phone call as you were speaking. I promise I was
Oh, that's okay.
listening. I was just like, can't
You're
answer.
cool. I thought you were talking to chat, and then I was looking for the chat, and I was like, "Well, Faber,
No,
what are you
no, no.
saying?"
I was someone was calling me and I declined. No, there's so much that you touched on there, and I yes, yay, and I fully agree. I want to bring it back to one thing. I agree we can't say free Palestine enough, but that's an ominous but. Is it being performative? Is it being performative? Like, are you just saying it so that all of the people that you are like, your followers who already agree with you, so that they're like, yeah, good, you said the thing you're supposed to say. It's like, no, free Palestine because Palestine should be free. That's what that means. Like
Yeah.
free Palestine because the people of Palestine who create that region of the world, the indigenous population of the Levant, deserve freedom. They deserve humanity. This is like that is their land, and they deserve to be recognized in that. They deserve to be free and safe and to express themselves and to live and to embody their culture. Right? Like that's what that means. When we're talking about arresting Netanyahu because he's a war criminal, which he literally is, I think that there's, that element of free Palestine being a box that we check for the people who already agree with us, right? And we do need to be aware of that as well. Like we need to
Yes.
be careful about that kind
Completely.
of thing. So yeah, thanks for just what you were saying there. Kind of brought that forward. But also the memification, like that angle of things that the right wing and even the centrists at this point, like the neoliberal centrists, have lost the audience. They've
Yeah.
lost the audience, and they've lost the audience because of people like Mamdani focusing on the message and not necessarily the buzzwords. And that's so important, because they have been controlling the narrative with buzzwords. And had he said, like, for example, to go back to the like saying free Palestine, had he said that, the people that he's trying to shake up would have immediately turned it into, oh, more proof that Zohran Mamdani is anti-Semitic. Like, look at him go. They would have spun it in a different direction. When you
Yes.
just focus on arrest Netanyahu, he is a war criminal. You don't give them the option of doing that. I'm not saying that that's like the right thing to do. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I see the reasoning. I see why it's so important to hone in.
I completely agree, and that was something I was going to try and verbalize, but you did it perfectly. No, 100%. It's the means and the action needed to achieve the means. Like you said, if he came in hot with the buzzwords, I mean, also like he did say so much, but anyway, fine. Let's spooky socialist. Let's agree for a second and say he didn't do enough, which I think is a wild take. But
Yep.
if you take that as an example, like you're completely right. I'm literally just mirroring what you said. Like you would instantly you would see that message being thrown out because it's like, oh, it's just he's a terrorist, he's a radical. No one's listening to the thing. But when you at the very least just take the facts, Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. The ICC has a state out for his arrest. He belongs in The Hague. You stop the centralist neoliberals from being able to enter the chat, which I think is the best thing he did. Because I'm sick of the fucking like both sidesing a genocide of the centrists
Yes.
that
Fuck.
are like, yeah, but the ICC doesn't actually count for the fuck off. I don't give a shit. Like
Yep.
he prevented that from being a part of the conversation, which I also think was very artful, was very skillful. Like you just completely said, I completely agree. There was no room for that identity politics, that kind of, buzzwords, because he stuck to the facts. And like I said, like in a world where misinformation takes so much more effort to kind of counteract, we just have to be living in the reality. We just have to be just saying the
Yep.
truth first before we then push past that to liberation and the people can fight for their own freedom and we can support that. We had to just start talking about the truth first, which we're so far from. Yeah. No, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would even go as far as to say I was oh, I've got to get myself cancelled. I felt like some of the responses calling out Zoran for not doing enough from that, they came across as a bit disingenuine and a bit
No, I
black
agree.
square on Instagram in the Black Lives Matter moment. It's like, okay, you got your clicks, you had your fun, but like,
Yep.
can we not, like we're saying, no one can be everywhere all at once. And as far as, imagine if we lived in the choice of, do you release that video or do you not? He released the video. He said those things. Can we
Yep.
not praise him for that? Like, how far does this come from? I know, like, this is a complete 180 from the Carl Kalinske identity politics conversation, but like, maybe that's just my line, and maybe I'm wrong for that, and I'd love to learn if that's not, like, right. But yeah,
I mean, if it's not, then like we're getting canceled together, because I agree. And I know this was just a wording thing, so I'm not like running with this specifically. And now it's gone from my brain because I have ADHD. There was something. Oh yeah, praise. So I'm not. This is not me like reading too far into what you're saying, but like even just to add on to things. This is another element of it, right? Is it's like we don't need to praise him either.
True.
We just need to agree with him. We need to agree with him openly. We need to be part of what he's saying. And this is the thing, is this, because I think that praising, and don't get me wrong, like he's so handsome and he has such a nice smile and he's just so warm and he's just like, I get it. Like he's a very easy person to be like, I just think he's neat. Like he's very easy to put in a hero position, right?
yeah.
I get that.
He
But
looks
that's
like he
not
gives
what
warm
we
hugs.
should. Exactly. Not what we should be doing, though, right?
But
like,
no,
not what
yeah.
we should be doing if we want to actually be tackling these systems. Like, agree with him. Recognize that he did what he can to take action against the genocide that Israel is committing against Palestinian people. He did what he can do. So now you need to do what you can do.
Yeah.
You need to get on board with it. Because when we take these actions, when we speak up against like colonial violence, when we speak up against oppression, it's not about getting recognition. It's about that thing that is happening no longer happening. It is about stopping the problem. That's the motivation. And when we criticize someone for not being perfect about that, we're putting them on a hero pedestal. When we praise someone for doing it, we're putting them on a hero pedestal. So either direction that you're approaching from, be conscious of the fact that you are talking about a human being, and when you do that, you put them on a different level than yourself, you are absolving yourself of having to take similar action. And that's what gets me about the whole like criticism praise thing for Zoran.
Well, and that's how you get to the Carl Kalinske element of like ride or die for a certain person. I think at any point in this state of politics, if you ever find yourself ride or dying for anyone, just pull back and say, I don't know this person. Like, I think I found that with Hassan Piker myself about a year ago. Like, I found myself just agreeing with every single thing he put out, and then I saw some critique of him, and I was like, oh shit, that's very valid, and that is true. He's not perfect, and I had to do that, like that, take him off that hero pedestal, because no one is perfect. And I think that, completely agreeing with what you said, Zoran included, I think we've moved past this celeb hero culture, and we should, and that's good.
Yes.
Because no one is perfect on every single thing. And also, like, maybe I'm overthinking this now because it's like 2 hours into the podcast, but or an hour and a half, but like, that mindset of like, one person is always correct, we must follow them, yes leader, is a stain of previous old ways of thinking, and that kind of supremacist colonial, why we are in the mess we're in. Like, we should move to like community based mind of like including all of the leftist infighting. Like, we should be able to have conversations and come to conclusions and say we are wrong. And like, I'm learning that slowly. That's something that like I'm not great at. I grew up very much like, you pick a role model and you love them and they never let you down. But that's just not the case. Like, you know, no one is perfect on every single thing. I don't think they should be. I don't think you should have one person that talks about all issues. Zoran Mamdani is not going to understand the trans experience. We are not going to understand the non-white experience. We shouldn't be fucking talking like as a position of power in that, you know? We should have a community-based thing. And I think maybe that's going to be some innate issue with like politicians, because Maybe you shouldn't just have one person representing an entire country or whatever, in whatever form it takes. But yeah, and I think that that's definitely a shift I'm starting to see. Like the ending of the celeb culture mindset is, I think, quite fascinating, and I do think it comes into this because at the same time we've also had the pop culture ification, sorry to ification everything, but like the pop culturization of politics at the same time as the downfall of the celeb culture. I think that they are both happening at the same time for a reason. Like we shouldn't have heroes. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. It's the gradual collapse of individualism, which I think is a fucking great thing. I think that's a very, very good thing because again, individualism, a huge
yeah,
component
you're
of white
right.
supremacy culture,
Yeah,
and I
neoliberalism.
like to differentiate here. Because I find that a lot of people get very defensive when they are new to this idea that individualism needs to fuck right off. Anyone who has ever like, Ayn Rand is like, her bones are rattling in her grave right now. She's having a bad time. But individualism is a massive problem. Individualism is a massive, massive problem. We are a collective.
Yeah.
We are a collective. We are here sharing an experience. We create our reality in our relationships. And every single one of us has a different experience. And that's a good thing because we work together to build a cohesive reality that has every single angle covered by all of those different experiences. That's so healthy. That's so good. That's so I like to differentiate between individualism, which is the idea that the individual is primary above all else, and individuality, which is a component of collectivism that makes the collective stronger. When we
Yeah.
recognize individuality, when we recognize those unique perspectives, we have a stronger, more well-rounded, balanced collective. We need that. We need that to get anywhere. I had some point to make, but
No, I'm
that was
learning
it.
so much. I love how like I am this like erratic flood of ideas, and I think I'm like spitting facts, and then you say a single word that sums up my entire point. I'm like, yeah, that's the fucking word I meant.
But this is just
Literally,
this
individualism. That's exactly what I was talking about. I love you for that,
This is
babe.
collective work.
Exactly. But you can't have a community without individuality and bring the stories, our lived experiences to the table. But the individualism. Honestly, and like we talk about this so much, unpicking this should be called the Unpicking Neoliberal Education podcast at this point, but that exact like I was so brought up to understand about family and like man and woman and kids and white picket fence and all of that shit. And honestly, like I didn't learn the phrase "it takes a village" until I was like fully in my 30s, and like and I'm in my 30s, so like, but it is exactly that, and I think that's such a mind blowing notion for so many people caught right in the heart of the empire that we're taught. You just need yourself. You just need to get a good job and just work really hard, and you can start a family, and no one can touch you. And if you get there, you deserve everything. It's like when you realize that that whole system is quite literally, physically, still to this day held up by the oppression of various other countries, minorities, and not like in history, like a lot of like centrists will try and say like, well, the slave trade ended years ago. No, to this day, the iPhone that you're using to do social media on is unethically created by, I think, like Cobalt in Congo, isn't it? Or Sudan, maybe.
Yeah.
But all
It's
interconnected.
cobalt mines in Congo.
Cobalt mines in Congo.
Yeah.
It is a perpetually, upheld system of oppression, and so there is no such thing as like you got there on your own merit. I know that's like talking into an abyss because we all know this here, but like, so yeah. How do we bring this back to Sauron Mamdani? His video was good.
His video was good. But it's not talking into the abyss because this is another thing that I keep reminding myself. Because there's like especially for like white folks, for me, like a white person on Turtle Island, I recognize like my position here is as a settler, that if I would like to be a guest, it means engaging like a guest and like
Sure.
respecting the home of the people, like the indigenous nations here, but also recognizing that the settler role is internal as well, how we're taught to think, and kind of the settler within. And I think that one of the big ones that I've been thinking about is how we devalue language and conversation. I don't think there is a screaming into the abyss. I don't think there is, like, yeah, there's stuff to be said about echo chambers on the internet specifically. But I think like showing up genuinely in conversation and revisiting these ideas, again, collective. You put them in your words, I put them in my words, and they get stronger when they bounce
And
back
we,
and forth,
that's
right?
true.
Like
And we
it's a
grow.
good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I sometimes just feel like I'm like such a baby leftist that like even the chat are like, all right, Louise, you got there, you stupid. Like, we all knew this.
We're
Yeah,
all
I feel-
baby leftists.
But yeah, it's true.
Everyone is. Like,
One thing that you just said is really interesting though is your lived experience as someone Canadian, like, and how you're grappling with the colonialization and history of that is different to someone like me who comes from Turf Island, who the right wing nature of Britain. I always say this is so much more insidious. I wish Bridget was here for this conversation, but like it's like
truly.
we don't learn. You literally don't learn about it in history in the same way. So it's only when you hit like 21, you go out into the real world, and you maybe find someone on Twitter talking about actually what happened in World War II, that you learn like, oh fuck, the UK was terrible. Like we just physically don't learn it. Like whereas I think in America or in even Canada and stuff like that, in the more modern nations that have like colonized an area, you can't hide that from history. Like, you know what I mean? America just celebrated its 250th birthday. That boggles my brain as a British person. Do you know what I mean? That has to like grapple with like, we go back to the Celtic, we're like from that land originally, but we did outrageous things, if that makes sense. So like, it's interesting how that even that lived experience is so slightly different. And I think that is a mirror as to what we were saying about how, our individuality can come to the conversation and add to the collective, thing we're trying to say, the community, and how even that slight difference has completely altered our understanding of colonialism, of like, where we are as baby leftists in the world. Like, and, I don't know, I just find that quite fascinating hearing you say that. And I don't know, something I grapple with as well, someone that is a white woman that left the UK to live elsewhere. So I live in Japan. Anyone in chat that doesn't know this, I live in Japan, and I have to constantly grapple with also the feeling of like, am I colonizing this little village I've lived in? Like I have to keep that in my mindset. We bought land here and we own a house, a very cheap house. It's a shed in the woods, like I always say, but we bought it, and I do feel like, I have to be very like aware of this culturally and respectfully. But yeah, I don't know, small little point there, but
When you're a white person moving around the world, I feel like there's a fine line between perpetuating colonization and decolonizing human movement, because like
wow, yeah,
like
'cause
birds
of no borders.
migrate,
Yeah, no
whales
borders.
migrate, like
Oh, that's true.
animals move around the world, like humans are animals. We should move around the world. It's very normal. It's normal for us to move. And so part of kind of reclaiming our nature as migratory creatures is to recognize that, right? So, but like recognizing that the reality, particularly in the past, like 500 years or so, of just, I mean, more recently, the past like 200 years of targeted settler colonialism that is incredibly violent and disruptive. We do need to move within that context. We need to understand that happened, that it is still happening, like that the violence associated with that is very much an ongoing thing. But again, it's like it's moving consciously, right? Like I think if you're asking yourself those questions, that's a good sign. I'll put it that way. If you're asking yourself those questions, that's a good thing.
It is about like respecting culture and the land, and in general though, like I feel like not to
Yeah.
get all witchy vibes on
Oh no, let's
everyone.
do it. Let's do it.
Oh,
Let's
we
get
were
witchy.
promised this as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, but like I think like a huge, antidote for that colonizer conversation, that mindset as well. It's just like have some respect for the world around you, for the ground you're physically walking on, but also like something akin to how cis white men need to be equalized, to be like, you're not special just because you're that. In the same vein, the human race, I think, needs a real hard pill to swallow of like, we ain't shit. We are just one
Totally.
bio thing. We're just one living thing
Yep.
on a planet, and like I guess it's woo time now. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, it's an hour and
It is
50
woo-woo
minutes in.
time.
I woke up so early. I think I went to bed at 1 a.m. and I got up at 6 a.m. for this, and I don't think I'm okay.
What?
But
No. Why
yeah.
would you do that?
Oh, some stuff going on. Woo. I was on the phone to the UK at like 1 a.m. and it was there.
Oh.
Anyway,
Yeah.
woo time. But yeah, like
Woo-woo time.
a huge kind of connection to this colonizer mindset is also this feeling of like owning land and like and taking the resources for yourself and leaving it worse for what it was. Like I think a huge antidote to the whole world around us being so fucked up is this idea of like, I know it sounds very Avatar, it sounds very obvious, like, but like we should live in tune with the world around us. We shouldn't be
Yeah.
taking more than we need and leaving less there, because that's we're a very cancerous race. We're a very cancerous organism, and I feel like, not to be like a bit too woo about it, but like the Republican, the kind of Trump, the Palantir, the Peter Thiels of the world are the epitome of that for me. They are
Yes.
stealing resources that they don't need, using them and throwing away, and just like the output is not worth the production. And whereas,
Yeah.
you know, we see in a lot of the kind of leftist spaces, it's much more, I mean, literally grassroots, but like down to earth. It's very much like feed who is hungry. It's grounded. It's so much more connected to the earth. And I feel like woo time, we're going for it. When we talk about like climate change as well, that disconnect becomes to me just so apparent. I don't know how the hell we got here from Zoran Madami, but we're now going to talk about climate change. But like the disconnect.
It is all connected.
It is, but it is the kind of like the billionaires making bunkers to survive the apocalypse that they're creating, and we're not even allowed to like admit that it's happening. We can't even talk about climate change. Is beyond me. Like there are some things I watch about like 90s TV, and it will talk about like the climate crisis at the time, global warming, like happening then, and people were like calling it out, and I'm like, that was made 30 years ago, or like that was filmed 50 years ago. Like for research for this thing I'm working on, I'm quoting a book called Pure, White and Deadly, which is about like sugar and the sugar industry and stuff, and it's like it was written in like the 70s or some shit, like, and nothing has changed. And there's just this disconnect between living in the world around you, taking what you need, adding more in return. There are so many systems that we have that like they actually just don't need to be so one use. You know, there's so many resources that can be reused. Green energy, for example. But it seems to be like the colonizer mindset is very much that of like, just use as much as you can, take as much as you can, want, and fuck everyone else. And I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah.
You were going off, is where you're going with that. I am going to I'm going to get super wooey. I'm going to get, so y'all are, we're, we're going there. Because, so like, this all ties, I mean, like, it goes back to very much the individualism side of things, that like you as the individual are so much more important than everything else, but also the Christian belief that humans were, specifically man, given dominion over the land, and the way that this was used to try and violently eradicate predominantly matriarchal, not always, but predominantly matriarchal cultures that recognized that humans ain't shit, that we are lucky to be here, and we have a responsibility to show that gratitude. So it ties into so much misogyny. It is misogyny, and hear me out. So if we understand Earth as a living organism, as she is, and I'm going to use female pronouns here on purpose. So if we understand Earth as a living organism, as our first mother, even thinking about the fact that, life, we're born from, like amniotic fluid, we come out of fluid, life walked out of the ocean, right? Like life originated in the ocean, it grew in the ocean, it diversified in the ocean, and then eventually like the things that we see on land came from the ocean, right? So life goes back to the water. This understanding of Earth as a body that has been through growth and life-giving, very, very similar to how many like animal bodies on the face of the earth now function is so I find it really fascinating. I
Yeah,
find it really wonderful to think about. It is
beautiful.
the like backbone of a lot of spiritual beliefs that were like that still exist, but that
It got
Christianity was
popularized.
specifically trying to, yeah, like
Yeah,
that it was trying to eradicate, right? But like I think about, I mean, even just the fact that like, so in your brain, you have, you know, like every neuron transmits information. The branches of neurons are called like dendrites, trees, branches. That's actually what they're called. So if you look at a neuron, it mimics the structure of a tree very, very, very similarly.
yeah,
It exchanges chemicals, the actual like synapses where dendrites connect with each other, exchange chemicals. Trees, that's, I mean, like the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. The root, like the actual trunk
yeah,
and root of your neurons, like where these synapses take place, like there's communication. If we go underground, forests are communicating with each other.
yeah.
They are sharing nutrients, they are sharing information. Like everything I you know that scene in Adventure Time where like Finn puts on the glasses that make him super smart and he like zooms out until he's like back into himself again and he's like, "Oh my God, everything just bigger versions of smaller things."
Yeah.
It's that.
Adventure Time.
It's that. Like
We went
I
from
just I
religion to
keep
Adventure Time call out. This is
we're
definitely the
yep.
woo woo section, and I'm fucking here for it. Carry on.
But I think about the way that these people treat Mother Earth with
Mm,
this like violent extractive
yes.
force where they're taking things from her, they are stealing things from her, all while she is giving everything that we need. Like she gives us water, she gives us air, she gives us food, just freely gives these things. And they're like, no, that's not good enough. I need to cut you open and take more. And how how are like
And
so many
denying the
people
pain.
struggling
Be
to
like, you're not even in pain. How dare you?
yes
Yeah.
and just expecting pain because again and this goes back to the whole Christian like the Christian belief that like God made birth painful on purpose to punish women for being inherently evil. Everything is structured around vilifying womanhood and femininity and the ability to give life. And I think it's because cis men in particular are terrified of the fact that they don't actually matter, that they're not capable of those things. They are threatened by the inherent value of being able to give life. They are terrified of women. They are terrified of Earth. That's why they are violently trying to extract from both beings in that sense. Like, I think about there's
And
a tree
oppress at the same time.
near. Sorry?
Sorry, and oppress at the same time. You have to oppress the core of
Yes.
the
Yeah.
power because
They
if
have
you allow them to have that power, you become inferior. That's their fear. I'm sorry, Karen. You're spitting facts. Don't let me
Yes.
interrupt you.
No, 100%. They have to fabricate fake systems of hierarchical power so that they can feel like they're important because they don't want to accept the fact that they're not actually important, that their value is found in their relationships to the rest of the world around them and other people. They won't accept that, so they need to make up a fake system. I was just going to finish by bringing up that there's an oak tree near where I live who as far as I know is like the oldest tree in this particular patch of forest because she wasn't logged during like colonial logging that took place in this area. We've even found like pieces of horseshoes back there from the logging carts from the Clydesdales that they used. And it's just it's not upsetting for me to think about the fact that by multiple metrics that tree is far more important than I am.
Yeah.
Like, she's already lived about 200 years.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer she's going to be here. My lifetime is so short in comparison. Like, my lifetime is nothing. I am only meaningful because of the people that I get to connect to. I am only meaningful if I take care of that oak tree,
Yeah.
of the forest around her. If I get to have an impact on the rest of the natural world in such a way that sustains it, that's how I get to experience eternity. But there are these horrible, greed polluted men who desperately need to try and buy lasting value because they are terrified of the fact that eventually they're going to rot in the ground like everybody else. They can't accept that.
Well,
I'm
and
going all over the place, but
we're
I'm done.
going woo woo. We've hit 2 hour mark. I don't even care.
Yep.
If the chat is still here
We're
for
going
it, they're
fully
here
woo.
for it. We're going woo woo. No, but I think as well, like what you've quite rightly connected to is also the sense of time and how the human life has
Yeah.
created time to quantify our existence. but time is like kind of a construct. I'm sorry if I'm, I'm losing people here. We're losing people.
No.
But my life, like you said, the time of my life from being alive and not is just that. It's just a splash. Not only a small amount of time, but also doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist, and like I think that what we're seeing a lot of people kind of not grappling that really well and almost like acting out against it, like, is because they don't want to face their mortality and the fact that like time isn't real. They won't have an effect. Even if they do have an effect and create some kind of legacy, doesn't matter. I think my husband is snoring again. Sorry if you can hear that. But what I find fascinating is that like you said, with the connections to religion that gave such meaning to life, has the kind of effect of giving people more of a sense of grandiose like being than they deserve. I'm sorry, like
Yep.
none of
You're
us
not
fucking
special.
matter. None of us, no one's special. And I think that being a Wiccan for so long and kind of grappling with that apathy has probably affected me way more than I realized. But like, no one matters. Even the human race doesn't matter. There's no such thing as meaning, and like the planet itself will be fine after we're long gone. Sorry, the snoring is so bad. Sorry, chat.
I can't
Oh,
hear
you can't hear
it,
it?
so
Okay,
I don't.
okay, good.
Yeah.
I can't hear it. I can feel it. I can feel the floor rumbling. That's how you know the husband
He's
is
dropping the
snoring.
bass.
Yeah, totally. It's like either yeah. What was I going to say? So something really interesting for me about the climate crisis is how the planet itself will completely recover and be fine. Like I think Starbush said,
A fever
the
is meant to
planet,
kill an
the
infection before
planet
the infection
transitions.
kills the body.
Exact. We are just a cancerous, like, and you know,
Yep.
the kind of nihilistic understanding of that is that like we don't matter. We can't just fly off to Mars and carry on and colonize another planet. If we as a civilization can't get our act together, the end result will just be that we don't have an act, and the planet will carry on spinning, and other organisms might live and they might not. Okay, it just will just happen. Like that's such a scary notion for so many people, but that is just the truth.
And this is something that not pushing back, but like yes, and because this is why. So the reason why Christian missionaries were so like intent on changing indigenous practices all over the world. But I like so for me, speaking from what I've learned from Anishinaabe nations, Anishinaabe, Mi'kmaq, Cree, Haudenosaunee, like those are kind of most of the lessons that I've received, like the nations that I've received these lessons from, because of the area where I live. Which, speaking of, if anyone is enjoying this part of the conversation and you haven't read Robin Wall Kimmerer's Braiding Sweetgrass, please do yourself a favor, pick up that book, read it. She's a Potawatomi botanist. It's true. It's like it is a life-changing read. It is a wonderful, wonderful read, and it will get you thinking about nations of plants and just our existence here as people in a completely different way. But
Sweetgrass.
getting back to Braiding Sweetgrass. Oh, you'll love it. It's so good. Let's talk about it when you read it. But getting back to the idea of humans as cancerous, the thing is that like humans aren't cancerous, but we can be.
But we can be,
And yeah. And what's so sad is there are nations of humans right now who are very much living in alignment with nature and aware of their place as part of nature and trying to push for those
and have been
practices
for
again.
generations. Yeah.
And yes, and they've been fighting this fight for hundreds of years now. And it's just like, you know, there's a Haudenosaunee law, bowl with one spoon, which is it is like there are like land-based, nature-based indigenous laws. Like don't take more than what you need.
Yes.
That is a legal framework. Like that is a binding law, and it's so fascinating to me that in like colonial legal systems, indigenous law is treated like it's not okay, but that's all well and good. That's the woo-woo section. Like that's all well and good. That's not real. It's like yours is completely made up. Theirs
Yeah.
comes from nature,
History
which is
and
real.
yeah, sustainability. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so weird that they think like
Completely.
it's this worship of the written word, like everything that's written down just suddenly becomes more real. But I'll wrap up this thought. Humans, I think, if we're looking at Earth as a body, we are the prefrontal cortex. We are here to perceive the self and tell stories. That's what we're supposed to do. And I think that too many people have like just forgotten this or never had the comfort of knowing that in the first place. And so they're trying to create value for themselves because they've forgotten how important it is to just be able to be here, experience this, and make sure that the next generation gets to do the same.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you have to do. It doesn't actually have to be like this.
Yeah.
It can be
And like
just be chill.
you've quite rightly said, it's not like this for a lot of current civilizations, and it's not been like that in history for a long time. It's just a small, unfortunately powerful minority that are acting cancerous. And I agree. There is a world where we could live uh, aligned with the rest of nature and continue civilization for a long time. I would even go as far as say there's like, even in that, we are a blip on a planet. You know what I mean? Like I like to apply my like witchy woo woo with science and say like the dinosaurs lived, if you believe in the dinosaurs, they lived on the planet for so much longer than we have ever even conceived of existing. And like I kind of believe in more of like there must be life on other planets, multiverse kind of even simulation theory. I don't know quite where I land on it all, but like I don't believe that we are the only planet that just happen to have life. I think that's quite egotistical for us to believe that. And like even though, but talking again about time, like even if you just took the human race as the time that we were alive, is nothing. So the brain of the planet, like you've quite rightly said, I can understand the logic of that, but like even that, the planet existed without the brain for so long, and it didn't need it. And so I think that we often like anthropomorphize nature, whereas we could also detach ourselves from that. Like the human isn't the archetype. We are just one of things. Like I can't understand how people see a difference between animals and humans. Physically, sure, we know what we can do more, but like we don't know. The dolphins might be laughing at us in the sea, being like, they think they fucking run the planet.
Oh, for sure.
The dolphins have been, the trees are talking. They've been talking to each other for fucking years. You know, like we don't even know what we don't know. And I think that's something that so many people need to digest, take several seats. We don't know what we don't know. Whereas a lot of the religious element and also this modern right wing movement is this egotistical notion that we know everything and we're right. Both of those things are wrong. We don't know shit. We don't even know what we don't know, and we're probably wrong about so much stuff, and that's okay. We can say that we're wrong, like you know. And I think you're so right to call into the religious
We
element.
talked about this. It's good to be wrong.
It's good to be wrong.
It's good to be wrong.
How do you think everyone got to the right answer before now? Like they were wrong first. There's no such thing. Like you say, you're not just born into this world with all of the answers. We learn, we are wrong, and orcas have more emotions than humans do. I completely agree. Fantastic line there.
This is me being can I be a neuroscience nerd?
How much more woo woo can we get? You do it. Like,
I need to be a neuroscience
I'm
nerd.
so surprised people are still in the chat. This is so funny.
Thank you, chat, for staying here for this.
Yeah, love you for this.
So specifically, not humans aren't the brain. We're the prefrontal cortex. A brain could function without a prefrontal cortex.
Oh, okay.
So for me, and I say humans, like talking about, you know.
You're losing me. Wait, hold on. Let me digest that. Prefrontal cortex. What part of the brain is that? The front bit.
Right up in here. It was the part. So
that's where I got my surgery done, and it went wrong. That's why I don't know what that is. I had mine removed.
when they were lobotomizing women for having opinions and stuff, and like thought that they were curing people's depression by like performing a frontal lobotomy, it was destruction of the prefrontal cortex, Jesus which Christ. Is okay. Again, I was a neuroscience student like a decade ago. I'm no slouch, but like we are learning lots of things change very quickly. But
yeah,
all of this to say, okay. That so the prefrontal cortex is basically self-perception. it's an oversimplification, but it's like the ability
Okay.
to perceive the self. So I think that highly intelligent species, cetaceans, humans, elephants, like there are there's lots of different kinds of intelligence out there. But the ability to perceive self is the ability to perceive existence, to be like,
Yeah.
whoa, I'm here.
Sentience. Is that, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And if that's our role, it's like that's not important at all to the planet, but it's pretty fucking neat. It's pretty cool. And we should be
Is
grateful for it, right? So it's like it's that side of things. And also the orcas having more emotions than humans. They might, this isn't me dismissing that. That comes from, I think it's the insular cortex. I'm trying to remember the spot in the brain. They found a region of the orca's brain that is huge in comparison, like relative to its size, in comparison to humans, that is associated with emotion. However, it's also associated with direction and migration and movement. So it could be related to emotion and the ability to like feel, because they for sure feel things that we don't feel, and we feel things that they don't feel. Like we don't know, right? Like we're not, we can't, that's, I'd love to be able to communicate with cetaceans. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. But it's more likely that this is like specifically a physical representation of just how mapped out they have the world, which in itself is incredible, right? And maybe that comes with additional emotions. But anyway, sorry,
I'm
I love
sorry.
brains. I think
I'm
they're
just
really cool.
I'm laughing at how we've gone off the woo-woo radar. We are just
We're talking about orca
I just
brains.
had an astral projection where I just stood out of myself and I was like, what the fuck are we talking about? This is live. People can see this. I just had a very wild
We're talking
moment.
about orca
yeah,
cognition
are we
because
still-
orcas are rad.
I was like, are we still live on the podcast? 'Cause I feel like we've just completely. What I did want to ironically say though was, let me find my wording. Do we give more importance to those things as beings that prioritize them? So like, are we
Totes.
anthropomorph
Anthropomorph.
anthrop
I struggle with that word so much.
I've lost it. I
Anthropomorphizing?
think I've crossed a line, Finn. I need to leave. Are we anthropomorphizing sentience and the ability to be self-aware because it's such a key part to our existence? And it
Yes.
is like the five senses that we use to perceive the world, not limited to the only way in which we can perceive the world. We only just consider them to be so because that's how we have perceived the world for so long and how we exist. And actually, sentience doesn't necessarily need to have any priority in life. We just prioritize sentient beings because we are one. So like I had this huge fight with a vegan. I don't know why I'm saying this. So okay, I had an argument with a vegan before the kind of like meat being used, meat being a core problem of like the pollution and gas and stuff. Obviously that's all very valid. But I had a fight with a vegan who said, how could you kill an animal and eat it? It's immoral to do so. And my argument was, you're killing a broccoli. You're killing the carrot. You're farming, vegetables. You're taking away life and digesting life to continue existing. Technically, that's still the same level of sustaining life by taking other life. But you're prioritizing the life of animals against like vegetation because you, in your mind, consider them to be of a higher level in the hierarchy because they're closer to you. Did I lose you, or does that make sense? You've got a very angry face. You look like an angry. You look like an angry teacher.
That's just my thinking face. I'm just autistic.
But do you know what I mean? Like
that's just my thinking face.
Like in the same way that we would call cats and dogs pets, but chickens and cows food, or most people would. But like, we are all just life, and life has to sustain other life to live. And I just don't. The argument being, the premise being, you're completely fine farming and destroying vegetation because you are eating live food to live. Sure, it's not sentient and it can't feel the pain, and obviously I agree. This is coming from agreement. I cut out milk when I realized how immorally it is produced. But like, I'm just saying, we do we not give more credence and priority to life that we see closer to us? And is that not also technically like not correct?
I think about like
Well,
in
woo-woo section.
Jainism. Yeah, woo-woo section. So the Jains practice like their diet is vegan, as far as I know, and they don't eat root vegetables because that's taking a life.
Right. Okay.
So if you're eating a fruit, you're eating a leaf, you're eating like the stalk of a plant, you're not actually killing it, right? So like one of the arguments that people who are really
If it
focused
falls
on
off the tree.
sustainability,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's you
Okay. Yeah.
can you could even harvest fruit because like you can that's what it's there for. Like if you pick an apple and then you eat the apple and you go and distribute the seeds, you're doing the tree a favor, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
so it's there are
Okay. Yeah.
people who do take it to that level, and it is complicated, right? Like there's an argument to be made for industrial farming and how destructive that is for the environment. Like just tilling the soil to plant a bunch of crops releases a whole bunch of CO2 into the atmosphere,
Kills a
and
few
then like
bugs. Yeah.
as those crops grow, we get a whole big blast of oxygen, and then we tear them all down because
Yeah.
monoculture, right? Like that's very destructive.
Okay.
It's beef, so it's still if we're looking at it from a harm reduction standpoint, it's less destructive than meat farming, which also includes the suffering of an animal. So it's like it's not a simple answer in farming. Like it's just I think that the biggest problem is that like we have industrialized everything is the
Yeah.
biggest issue. So whether you eat meat or don't eat meat, what like how you eat plants, where you get those plants from, the industrialization is the problem. Everyone should be able to eat a diet that is healthy and sustainable for them, and they should have a personal relationship with their food so that they actually appreciate what happens in order for that food to be on their plate in the first place.
Agreed.
That's and there are people who will disagree with me, but that's my
No,
take.
I think you're right, and I think actually like you've even helped me quantify my point even better. But like there would be for me less moral ambiguity of, say, you come across an animal that has naturally died and you haven't killed it to sustain your life from it, it's died of natural causes, and you consume that for life, is even still in my mind less destructive than, like you said, killing an entire plant of vegetation to the point it can't continue to produce. That's like still, yeah. So I think you're right, isn't it? It's about living truly then what sustainability is. It's living in a sense that you're not having to harm nature in order to make enough to live. You are living within the means of what nature naturally provides. Wow. So you've helped me really quantify what I'm saying. I might have to go and find that vegan and re-argue and see if we can get to the
Also
bottom of it.
read Braiding Sweetgrass.
Braiding Sweetgrass, yeah.
Read
I
there's a
the sweet
chapter in it
first.
called I think called The Honorable Harvest, that confronts the problem of like and throughout the book in like multiple chapters, just the conversation about taking a life, like even a plant's life, a tree's life, you're still taking a life, right? So like
Yeah.
why are you taking that life? How are you taking that life? Are you part of the process? Like are you appreciating what it means to have the ability to take the life of another living creature
Yeah.
who is no more or less important than you are?
100%. That is actually what again, you've done the thing you always do. You take what I'm trying to say and you put it more succinctly, and you quote books, which is something I have yet to be able to do on this podcast. Yes, I will check that out. You've quite rightly just put everything what I was going to say. And this is actually interesting because to wind down for the podcast, well, I am actually working on content for the first time in a while, and it does come into this as consumption, I will say, for now, which we'll talk more about later. But before we go off, I don't even know what goes after woo woo, so we have to be really careful because we're close to it, Finn. Okay, we're gonna go right back round and start talking sense in a second, but it does all connect. It really does, especially when you think about Israel and the harm it's doing to the environment, the eco side, the climate crisis happening. I mean, shit. We're looking at what's happening around the world. It is all connected, and this mindset in the right that we see of my life is more important than yours. I think that's the core
Yep.
destructive notion. People are fighting for their lives and they're doing far worse because they can't face their own mortality, which if only certain people's mortality could come a little bit quicker, if you catch my drift. Finn, are you working on anything at the moment? Is there anything chat can look forward to?
I am actually, which is weird. I wanted to do a short video on Graham Plattner that has turned into like a half-hour long video about. It's kind of about Graham Plattner. It's kind of not. That should be out next week. This week I have like a smaller something to just kind of like try and call people in revolutionary things. So I have that coming. I also like. Can I shout out one more book for? Because there's a bunch of communists in the chat, and I want to make sure that they have read this one. You're going to be like, wait, are you for real right now? But truly, this book,
I'm ready
the
to type it.
Snagglepuss Chronicles.
The what now? How
By
dare you say that on our podcast?
the Snagglepuss Chronicles by Mark Russell. It is a very short, like it's not that long, very, very short
It's a
graphic
comic.
novel.
We can handle a comic.
It's a comic,
Okay.
yeah. This is like genuinely one of the best pieces of like leftist literature I've ever read. So if you are someone who finds theory dry and boring and uncomfortable, try there's other ways. There are other ways to engage. This is what I love about books like Braiding Sweetgrass, about, you know, like the Snagglepuss Chronicles. There are so many opportunities to engage with these ideas that aren't just reading really dry theory, so that you can argue with like debate bros on the internet and show that like, and yeah, like flex your theory chops, right? Like, good theory is the ability to generate your own theory on top of the lessons that you've learned, and the best way to be able to do that is to learn them in a way that is engaging and fun. That's it for me. So
What's the one thing that like I actually do end up reading, being a comic that you've suggested?
you'll really, it's so good. It's about Snagglepuss as a gay playwright during the Red Scare era. It's so good. Sorry, go on.
Wow, history does repeat, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm gonna check out these things. Yeah, for sure. If no, I was gonna say there are some stuff I'm reading for what's upcoming on my side. It's not really communist theory, but it does kind of tie into the industrialization of like food and stuff like that we did touch on. But there's the whole thing I'm grappling with of like sugar, and this is coming into what I'm creating, which is why I'm bringing it up. I'm working on something about consumption and things like that, and like sugar, if it was invented now, it would be a class A drug. Sugar is extremely bad for us. I mean, I'm talking about like high processed, the white sucrose that you get on your coffee table.
Yeah.
I cut out sugar for 2 years once. I lost a bunch of weight. I was really happy, really healthy, and changed my life. And now I'm like, obviously, I'm back using again the sugar. But there's a couple books I can talk about now, but let me reread them first before I start quoting them into the chat. But I might actually have something I can suggest people read, which I don't think I've ever done before in my life. But yeah, so that's kind of what's coming up on my side. It might be a real long time in the works. I'm hoping to come back big styly, big video essay thing. I'll probably talk more about that after the podcast is finished, and I've got some other stuff to say. But yeah, so that's coming up at some point on my channel. I'm afraid I probably won't have much coming out until then, because schedules be scheduling, as we say.
Yeah.
Schedules be scheduling. There's some real crazy stuff going on my side. But yeah. Anyway, it's been over 2 hours. Thank you so much for everyone that joined us. If you managed to stay from the beginning to the end, give yourself a round of applause. You lasted through a woo-woo section. One of the wooiest woos as well. The wooiest woo sections we've ever had. We went from Zuron to religion to Wiccanism to veganism and back again. And that was a wonderful journey. Thank you for being there with us. Anyway, take care of yourselves as much as you can in these turbulent times. I love you all so much. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you hopefully next week for another installment of the Left Wave Transmission podcast. Have a wonderful week. I love you all so much.